stuff that are there that make sure everybody's safe. Drop our stuff off at the lodge. There's like 35 of us. You're allowed to spread out because you guys are on the same trip, but everybody's within 2 miles of each other. There's always park ranger way behind. There's always park ranger way ahead. We're technically with a lot of
Default and blue look just about alright.
What?
The way they did the things kind of got me. The pickaxe for links, because the default and blue are literally just about the same. They're just different shades of blue.
Well, stop doing it. We were just doing this as a favor anyways. And so, YouTube discontinued the Rewind project.
What was links that glider?
Let's go check this out. So we start walking towards it, and the closer we're getting to it, the more eerie that it's feeling. This isn't like your local forest. We are in the middle of the forest. This is like we are on a nature adventure. When you see something so clearly man-made, it fucks with you. It's weird. Why is that here? This thing's like almost glowing. It almost had like a. It was almost like I was getting like intrusive. Everything in my head is saying like go up the stairs, but I just look and I just hop up the first stair. I have my hand on the railing and both my feet on the first stair. This is where it gets weird. The second I got on,
Screw it, we're gonna go with that one. I ain't looking for 20 years. You ready?
I'm like laughing, like giggling. This is like weird. And then I'm inspecting.
Alrighty.
Carpet on the stairs. The railing's white, the carpet's blue, like a royal. And there's no debris. There's not a leaf. There's not a sprinkle of dirt. There's not a bug crawling on it. There's not a blade of grass on it. I'm like giggling and kind of saying talking out loud, super weird, like trying to get giggly. But the longer that I'm on it, it starts feeling wrong. It almost starts to feel like a trap. Part of my head is saying keep going to the top. And then before I climb to the top of the stairs, I look back at Sam, and Sam is looking at me like he's horrified. Like he's looking at me like I have like a gash on me. Clearly distressed. And I look back to the top, and I'm like, should I go to the top, right? Intrusive thought. And he grabs me by the hood, and he like yanks me off the stairs really, really hard. I'm on my back on the floor. He immediately goes up and he's like, are you okay? Yeah, dude, why'd you pull me so hard? He's like, no, are you okay? What are you talking about? And this is the part I'm slightly weird and ashamed about. I thought I was...
I'm thinking of taking that idea from this video and turning it into a movie.
My perspective...
Huh?
I'm thinking of taking that idea from a movie and turning it into a movie.
What movie? I mean, what idea?
Just listen to that video, the whole thing.
Oh, what I'm watching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a sequel to the story that I would also like to do, like make a sequel to the movie.
Remember that one time we tried to do a movie?
Yeah, we were making it with what's his face, and it just didn't go out the way we wanted.
Yeah. So obsessed with his bike. I gotta be on my bike for this, gotta be on my bike for that.
So he pumped his tire.
Yep. Yep. Me and you could have just made a movie off of, like, scaring the shit out of him. You know what I mean? We could have turned that around, so I'm thinking about it right now. We could have turned that around on him so bad he wanted to be the way he was. You know what I mean? And then when he, what do you call it? When he went, he went off on his bike for a minute. Well, I mean, you were talking about what was going to happen, you know, about the fucking thing. And, he, when he took off, we could have literally, like, hit on him, you know what I mean? And just fucked with him. You know what I mean?
By this super dangerous staircase. He starts to explain a little bit, like I should be in the know about these ominous stairs. He starts saying stuff like they pop up randomly and they disappear randomly. Immediately, I'm like, this guy's absolutely tripping. This guy is super weird. He is making things up. He's trying to like get me about touching this random staircase, make it seem like something horrible can happen. I'm like, this guy's super weird. I'm getting away from this deranged park ranger. So I go to sleep. I like leave this weirdo by himself because I'm going to bed. I'm trying to enjoy this trip. The next day, completely fine. We have such a good time at this campsite. There's a great lake over there. We're spending time in the water. Nothing weird is happening. Everything's completely okay. In my head, that guy's tripping. He's super weird. We're fine. By the end of the day, I Sam's over it, and we go to sleep because obviously when you're camping, spending so much time outside, you're exhausted. So we hit the hay.
Give it a minute, I just plugged it in.
Early, and right around like 4 a.m., the sun's about an hour from coming up, and we kind of hear a ruckus outside of the tent, and there's this kid, this young boy crying by himself outside. So we're like, oh, so we all get out of the tent, and there's already people around him. Apparently, the word going around is that his mom is gone, and his tent's gone, and all their belongings are gone, and they start questioning this kid, and they're like, where is your mom? And this little kid just points towards the tree line. So this kid's mom packed up all their stuff, apparently, and went on her own hike in the middle of the night. So I'm like, this is mom of the year. We're kind of forming a search party. Everybody's kind of coming together, like, all right, we're gonna go look for this lady. As we're walking towards the big group that's gonna go on the search, our ranger walks by me and Sam, and he says some slick comment to me saying, you better hope we find her, because if we don't, it's on you. At this point, I'm pissed, because this guy is, first off, he's super weird telling me about these mythical stairs. Second off, now he's trying to blame me for this mom packing up her stuff and leaving in the middle of the night. And then Sam goes, why would he say something like that to you? Because, of course, why would somebody blame somebody getting up and leaving in the middle of the night on me? And I filled him in about the mythology of these staircases that this weird park ranger told me. And Sam's face is expressing to me that he believes the ranger and not me. Because I'm being sarcastic about it. And Sam seems pretty serious. And he goes, I think we should probably check by the stairs. Luckily, the search party is kind of directed towards the area of the stairs because we don't think this lady's going to go so far off the trail. So they're like, all right, maybe she went back to the lodge. She was done with the game. There's no sign of her. We don't see anything. We're just walking down the trail that we came in. But once we get to the clearing, and of course, this lady is sitting Indian style exactly where the stairs are. And at this point, I'm a little freaked out, but I'm also like, of course she's sitting right. Like, is she in on it too? Like, what's going on here? Why is this lady sitting Indian style exactly where the stairs were, and the stairs aren't there? And then my
Playing above us.
like, why am I in this
Coming for us.
This weird deranged park ranger is in cahoots with this weird deranged mom, and she's sitting at this spot where these weird immaculate stairs were, and now the stairs aren't there. So me and Sam jog up to her. There's already like 3 people up there, and as we're approaching her, I see that she is, mind you, she's only been gone for like an hour and a half now. And her clothes are like tattered. She looks like she got dragged through the forest. She looks like Bear Grylls after a week in Siberia by himself eating earthworms. And she looks deprived.
So we're not gonna even worry about these fuckers that are possibly up there.
We get up and there's already people asking her questions. Like, one lady's like, what happened? Like, are you okay? She's just like, kind of like rocking. She's going like, what took you? The guy that's there goes, don't worry. It's only been like an hour. You're safe now. And she just like mumbles out, it's been days. Right then I know, okay, she's great. They're still questioning her shit, but she's not even answering their questions at this point. She's just kind of talking. I only caught a few sentences, and she said, she like mumbles out, it told me I'd be safe by the stairs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It told me I'd be safe by the stairs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? The stairs aren't even here. How does she even know that there were stairs? At this point, I fully believe the park ranger. Like, 100%, he was right. I feel so guilty. I'm the reason that this woman is in this deranged fit sitting crisscross applesauce in this clearing. The reality of the situation is just hitting me all at once. And we get this lady up and we're like, all right, we have to take her back to the campsite because we can't take her to the lodge, we can't take her to the hospital, we have to go back to the campsite because that's where everybody is, that's where her kid is. So we get this lady up and we start walking her back. It's only like 4 of us. It's me, Sam, and the 3 people that found her. As we're walking back, me and Sam are a little bit ahead of them because they found her, they've been consoling her, and I don't want to mess with the morale that they've built with her. And as we're walking back, she's just rambling to herself like really light. It said this, it said that, and they're just trying to console her, like, hey, it's gonna be okay. Your son's at the campsite. She goes, just like really light voice of her son. Everybody's being very gentle with her. She's been through a lot. So nobody's like, oh, she doesn't know her son. This lady doesn't even know her full name. Her eyes are absolutely deranged. And he goes, yeah, your son, they just sent the kids out on an excursion, so nobody would freak out that you're gone. Everything's okay. She just goes, and he goes, oh, your son's named Nick. He's just giving her the answers that she needs to get back to reality. So he's doing a great job consoling her, and as we're walking back, the guilt in me is rising. All I can think about is how much I want to apologize to the park ranger for, you know, I was kind of disrespectful. I was brushing everything that he said is happening. Once we get back to the campsite, you know, it's a long walk.
Dude, I like this. This shit's got me chilling, you know what I mean, listening to this.
Right up to him, man to man, and I just start apologizing. Like, dude, I fully believe you. I'm so sorry I did this. Please tell me what I can do to help. He looks at me serious, but he knows
Nah.
I'm sincere, and he gives me like
Carrying
kind of a half
heels this time around.
trying to mend our relationship. He just kind of apologizes for being so hard on me. As he's walking away, he kind of sighs out, man, I just needed you to know how serious this situation was. My bad for being so hard on you. I just hate finding dead kids, man. That hit my heart like a bomb because he knew something horrible was going to happen. He didn't know it was going to be an adult or a kid. He said it as if it's happened before and that he had to find his. And the idea of finding a kid in the same state that she's in was absolutely heartbreaking. So at this point, we're full get this lady better before her kid comes back from the excursion. We clean her up, we get her food, we get her water, we get her new clothes. We just try to doll her up a little bit so the kid doesn't come back and see his mom in this horrible state. So we're just sitting around the campsite. She's all cleaned up, she looks pretty good. She's just sitting there with her hands folded in her waist and her like knees touching each other. Like she's sitting very delicate. She's just kind of looking around. She's still very spacey. She's just looking around. She's not really talking to anybody. She's still mumbling to herself a little bit, but she seems like she's a little bit more put together, a little bit more full. She's pretty happy that she's back at campsite. As the kids are coming back, the entire group is kind of expecting this reunion. Everybody's expecting like a warm embrace, like we're all happy, everything's okay. And when the kids come up, the sun walks up to the end of the campsite, and everybody's looking at
Guy
her.
coming.
Everybody kind of goes silent for this.
Where?
I saw footsteps somewhere.
She sees that everybody's looking at her. It almost looks like she took it as a cue, and she scans the kids, and she just
Oh no, I don't see the footsteps somewhere. Was that you that just placed the trap?
No.
I feel like I just heard somebody place a trap. The footsteps are back.
Yeah, I see him. No, he's not. He's over here in this building. He's right here. He's a John Wick. Unfold how we were expecting. Everybody has this kind of like sadness on their face, and then I scan and I see the park ranger's face, and he's looking at the woman like his world is being torn apart. He's more anxious than I've seen him this entire time. He's like half crying. He says, "That's not my mom anymore." I see the park ranger's face, and he's looking at the woman like his world is being torn apart. But the women at the campsite immediately go up to the mom and start to console her, tell her that kids react to trauma in different ways. He's throwing grenades. Her face is expressionless. We gotta start getting going though, cause this storm, like now.
That's where we are.
Oh, another guy on me. He ran into this building. I'm not pushing, I'm running. Come on. Here comes the storm, buddy.
I got him.
And they just call out your name without even looking at you. Chills down my spine. I just immediately walk up. What do you want me to do? I'm in full soldier mode at this point because this is my fault. I want to help fix it. He starts speaking very firmly. His eyes are completely locked on this mom. He's not even looking at me. And he just goes, "I'll keep my eyes on her. You take care of the kid. The father can't get here until tomorrow. By no means does she interact with that kid until he gets here."
What?
I go, God, I beat mine towards the kid. Mind you, I've been
people over here.
That was just now.
Is that you shooting?
Of course he did.
Oh my God, Charlie.
What?
I knew we should have started running earlier. Look how far away the storm is. The circle.
Jeez.
What did he look like? And Nick just holds his thumb up and he goes, his face looked like this, and he rubs the front of his thumb. What did he look like? And Nick just holds his thumb up and he goes, his face looked like this, and he rubs the front of his thumb. I have no idea what that means, so I immediately start asking, what color was his skin? What was he wearing? And Nick just goes, he was pissed.
What? No, her boyfriend.
Eyebrows, bright eyes, and big
She was just asking what we were talking about.
I'm internally freaking out, but I don't want him to see that, so I start reassuring him, letting him know that
guy right here.
we're not going to let that person not coming back. I want to keep distracting him and make him a fun day, but I
people right here at the end of the storm, so I'm kind of fucked, buddy.
Second to 10, it's closed, and I'm about to start spewing all of this new information I've learned. Sam cuts deep. I go, I have so much to tell you. He goes, me.
Yep, I knew it. I knew it, Charlie.
He goes, this is gonna sound really weird, but I was in a group with her. You know when everybody in a group starts laughing, and then one person left.
He's trying to shoot me from the circle. What the fuck, dude? He's coming to grab my shit. He already ran up back in through the storm. No, he's right there.
Binoculars, a little bit proud to show off the commitment to his spy work. And he goes, I was watching her with you. He goes, I watched her for 30 minutes straight. She did not blink. She was not breathing. She looked like an and then she starts looking. She reaches out.
I'll play again.
She starts looking around as if she's seeing.
Well,
Imagine a mind pretending that and then the second they walk away, she's emotional. Sit and kind of starts looking around, kind of questioning to herself. You know how she was saying it's telling her to do this, it's telling her to do that? I don't think it is telling her to do anything. I think she is. I don't even get the villain said about the school face before he goes, we gotta tell the ranger we're running. I just oblige and follow him out of the tent, and we pull up on the ranger, and Sam just starts pouring his heart out about all the evidence that he's found throughout the day. And the ranger's just listening patiently, nodding. And then right when Sam finishes, the ranger just goes, don't worry boys, we're on the same page. There's no chance of letting that thing leave my car. The ranger just goes, don't worry boys, we're on the same page. There's no chance of letting that thing leave my car. He said that thing. Immediately my head goes, is she possessed? Is it in her? Or is the whole her not her? Ranger goes on and says, you guys have no idea how lucky we are that that kid doesn't trust her. But it is vital that we keep them separate and do not give her an opportunity to manipulate him. You guys need to understand that this thing has one motive, and that is to get out of the park. And the only way it can get out of the park is if it manipulates a loved one to escort it out of the park. We just need to keep doing what we're doing and keep them separate until Dad gets here. I already told the camp guide to send all the kids paddleboarding all day, so it has no chance to talk to him during the day. You guys need to monitor her during the day, and then get that.
You're listening to that story, right?
And then we're home free once we get that kid to his father. So before I even get to really
you hear
digest
it?
that new information, me and
What you
Sam
thinking?
hustle back to the common area just to keep it.
I fucking, this was fucking weird, dude. Like, good weird though.
Just wait, bro. Just wait.
Groups of campers if they've seen her son. All the campers are still
Wasn't.
nice and gentle with her because they kind of know what happened, and they're just telling her all the kids went paddleboarding. It's fine. But by like the third time she asks each group, you can kind of see that the campers are getting a little annoyed and frustrated. And she goes back up to this one group to ask them for the fourth or fifth time, and one burly country dude just kind of blurts out, kind of joking, that dad can't get here soon enough, am I right? And then his wife or girlfriend hits him on the shoulder for being rude. Honey, be patient. Dad's gonna be here in the morning. And then it's
What?
repeating what she said, as if it's taking that new information and formulating a new question to ask them. And it repeats it 3 times. My husband's gonna be here in the morning. My husband's gonna be here in the morning. My husband's gonna be here in the morning. And then she
Yeah, we served them one time and we were confused as hell. No, I think it's randomized.
no ma'am. And she walks
Landed here.
a little bit more frantic. The only thing is that she turned from more active to
I thought it was pretty cool though.
as if it knows that now it's crunch time. She only has one day to
There's someone here.
and she's walking from group to group, just repeating herself. Do you know what time my husband's gonna be here? And literally walks around asking the same question, getting the same answers until the sun starts to come down and the kids start coming home from paddleboarding. We're coming up on dinner time when everybody meets in the common area to eat.
Got him.
And just obviously keep a mom separate from her kid without the
Break this building down.
suspicious.
Must have been breaking like the game or something for them to change it back. And the update was super big.
If we just get through this part, we get him in his tent, and we're home free, we got him safe, it's all good. So we're just assuming that it's gonna follow the
Like
herd.
breaking the game, making the game like
Go get Nick to his tent.
not
So I just have Sam go
like I don't know how to explain it.
fly, escort Nick to his tent. But within the
No, the surfing, having them all come in at once.
tent, it must have slipped away because
Yeah, but once you put like 100 players into that scenario, like it probably like screws with it like heavy.
he unzips it, immediately pops out I grabbed him by the arms and said, I could say I did something heroic, but I just let out a and I double hand gripped Nick's string backpack because I didn't want to risk touching this thing. And I swung him behind me really hard because I wasn't trying to get into a tug of war with him. When I tell you in this moment I was mortified because I was the only thing in between her and Nick, I felt the fight or flight creeping in, and I had to remind myself that this isn't a woman, and if it takes a step forward, I'm not flying. I'm just standing there, and the only words that I can get out are, "You good?" And then it just says kind of softly and menacingly, "We need alone time. Don't make me scream." I bark at Nick to go get Ranger because the only thing I want in this moment is an authority figure here that isn't me, because I have no idea what this thing is capable of, and the Ranger does. So Nick books it, and I'm just frozen there, staring at this thing, waiting for it to scream and make me look like an absolute creep in front of the entire camp. But it just stands there for a few moments.
Is that your grenades?
Yeah.
Yep.
Almost as if it's trying to remember.
God damn it.
And just like that, its eyes lock onto me, and I damn near brace for impact, because I think she's gonna let out this horrific scream, and I am absolutely not looking forward to the scene that this thing is about to make. When this thing finally explodes into a scream, I get a little confused and almost a little bit relieved, because in that moment
I ran out of fucking ammo.
this thing has no gauge of human reflection or social cues, because the scream that it did
Ah, shit.
situation, I was expecting it to scream in horror as if it was accusing me of attacking her, but instead it screamed as if it was
Why'd I jump right up into him?
that just screams about anything while she's playing. I peek for a quick second just to kind of see the camper's reaction.
Play again?
Even a little bit more relieved because I see a few of them rolling their eyes, because at this point they seem so fed up with this lady's behavior. The slight relief that I had disappears immediately when I look back at it, because it abruptly stopped screaming because it could tell it didn't work, and its chin tucks a little bit and it starts looking up the top of its eyes as if it's honing in on it.
And the buttons just wear down over time. It's a plea to get more money.
It almost looked a little bit happy about
It's
how scared I
common.
was, gave a little bit of
Like
a
my
smile,
dad,
and
like my.
in my voice,
Ah.
exactly how I
The
just said it.
settings, I see.
It did it as if it was threatening me, that if I get in the way of her leaving with Nick, it can mimic me and leave with Sam. It did it as if it was threatening me, that if I get in the way of her leaving with Nick, it can mimic me and leave with Sam. That moment
Could've been
felt
that
like it
too.
lasted forever. Then finally I felt somebody grab my shoulder, and I look back, and it's the Ranger, luckily. And he has this confidence on his face that he's about to just handle this situation, which makes me feel so much safer. And he loudly says, "Don't let this thing intimidate you. It can only take your form if it can put you in a trance. And the only way it can put you in a trance is if you're inebriated. You didn't drink anything tonight, right?" I just nod my head no. And he goes, "Then you're good." Then he looks at her and just says, "Go to sleep. Your husband's gonna be here in the morning." Kind of brushing her off. Her eyes light up like she likes what he just said. And she almost scurries back into the tent. And as we're walking away, I hear her repeating herself, almost joyously, "My husband's gonna be here in the morning. My husband's gonna be here in the morning." We start walking away, and I see Sam walking up with the plates of food, with a look on his face like, "Hey dude, what happened?" The Ranger tells me and Sam to come eat dinner with him, and that we deserve a little bit of an explanation. As we're walking to where he usually eats dinner, a little bit away from the other campers, I see Nick in between two camp guys, and he's safe, so I'm a little bit more relaxed at this point. And the question
It took me and Brandon a while. We've only won one game since I've gotten
we
out.
sit down, the first question that comes to my head is, "So you know what that thing is then?"
Yeah.
He says, "Kinda. All the other Rangers call them mimics. I've heard plenty of stories about them, but I've only had one other personal experience with them. My working theory is that interacting with the stairs almost calls to them like it's this personal hotspot, because incidents like this are few and far between, but whenever the stairs are involved, it feels like it attracts everything. We're very
That's the
fortunate
house?
to have a lucky draw with them.
Well,
It could have been something so much
thing?
worse. My
Alright.
brain immediately goes, if we're lucky with this thing, what else is in this park? But the Ranger just keeps going on with his story before I get to spew all of my
I just like
questions.
OG.
What I do know is that these things target people that are under the influence. The last time I had to deal with one, it tricked this hippie guy that came here by himself, and he basically just choked the whole time. So he was an easy target. And I was the one that saw him walk into the forest with him. I thought about chasing them and intervening, but once they hit the tree line, it's almost like they dissolved.
Yeah, I wouldn't
In
have
my head,
known
I'm
what
like,
time
that's
I'll wake
exactly
him
what
up.
Nick told me. So this Ranger is definitely on. The Ranger goes on and says, when the hippie wandered back into camp, he knew it definitely wasn't him because he was talking super formal, and this guy was the opposite of formal. Everything that he did was super laid back, chill, hippie vibe. And when he came back speaking very eloquently, asking very specific questions in a monotone way, I knew something was off. He started walking around the camp asking everybody who he came here with, and he was trying to figure out if he had any loved ones or
There's footsteps right around my building, homeboy.
He was very open with me and everybody else that he was a traveling nomad, and he had nobody really significant in his life in general. And when all of the other campers started their hike back to the lodge, he wouldn't leave the campsite. And when I told him that I couldn't leave the campsite without, and that he was my responsibility to take home, he said he can't leave the campsite without somebody that loves him. It got really frantic, and we were pleading with me to call somebody for him. But I told him that he didn't even put
my
anybody on his
phone's been dying
emergency
super
contact
fast,
form.
too.
There was nobody to call. I remember seeing the defeat on this thing's face, and then the last thing it said to me was, "I ran out of
Oh,
time."
you
And
pushed
then
up there?
towards the tree line, and it was almost as if his face
Damn
dissolved
it.
and
Oh my
I didn't
god.
even know you pushed him, boy. That's my fault.
No, I didn't say anything, but I was just running at the fucking guy. He was running away, and all of a sudden he just fucking zaps
My
me.
assumption that these things can't survive without a living host. They trick you, then they trap you, then they mimic you, try to convince somebody to take them home. It seems like they can't leave the park unless somebody that loves them escorts them out. The way she's been acting almost confirms that with me because it seems like she's been abiding by the same rules. But if we let this thing out and it gets to a city or a town, we have no idea how.
God damn it, dude.
I finally cut him off and I asked him,
Turn the lobby and we'll make it coffee.
he confidently says,
Yeah, you good.
she's still alive. We just need to focus on getting Nick to the lodge and trapping the figure. So we can focus on finding the real her while she's still alive. Then Sam chimes in and says we're gonna extract Nick in 06. Make the handoff with the father within the hour, and then we orchestrate a grid-style search party starting east of the campsite where Nick's daughter lives. So that gives us 6 hours of sleep and approximately 10 hours of search time before the sun goes down. Sam kind of flipped the switch and starts taking control of the situation because he's a really fun-loving guy, but at his core, he's a tactical-minded, well-trained Army Ranger. The man was an Army Ranger for about 10 years. All it took for him was the confirmation of his suspicions, and the Army Ranger immediately came out. The park ranger piles on that we're coming up on day 3. If we don't find her tomorrow, we might not find her alive. He dismisses us and tells us to get some rest, so me and Sam just clear our plates really quick to get some calories, and then we hustle back to our tent so we can get as much sleep as possible. But once we get back to the tent, I'm just laying there with my eyes open. I'm having a really tough time sleeping. I just keep thinking about her repeating my voice to me, and I just can't get that image out of my head. My mind was just going in loops and loops and loops, hearing my own voice being said to me. I can't express to you how eerie it is to hear your own voice when it's not coming from a recording. And it's like Sam knew exactly what I was thinking, and he just blurted out porcupine. And I was like, what, bro? And he says, that's our safe word, porcupine. If at any point we get split up or something crazy happens, you just ask me what that safe word is so you know it's me. He goes, got it? I said, got it. Having a plan set to be able to recognize each other gives me just enough relief to fall asleep. But it sure did not stop me from having nightmares all night. I woke up the next morning right as the sun was coming up, and I saw Sam was already getting ready. So I jumped up to catch up, because every moment that we're still here, that woman is still out there in the woods suffering. I get ready like I'm late for the first day of school. The ranger's already at the edge of the campsite with a really groggy Nick, having him climb into one of those off-roading golf carts. Thank God he had a vehicle, because I was not looking forward to a 15-mile hike there and back, and then a search party. Me and Sam jog up, and we just hop into the backseat quietly, because we are just trying to execute this mission and get this over with. When the ranger turns the engine on, we just hear a zip, and she comes storming out of her tent towards the golf cart. We start driving away, and it's a little bit of a downhill, so once you're about 30 feet away, you can't see over the ridge to the campsite anymore. But you could see her storm up to the edge of the trail and just stand. This woman looked venomously angry that we lied to her. She stands dead center of the trail for about 5 seconds, and then she just turns and sprints into the tree line. Sam sees it too and goes, where do you think she went? The ranger cuts us off and says, keep your head on a swivel, because she's getting desperate. We're driving for about 10 minutes, and the trail continues to get more and more narrow as we go. It's about a 5-mile stretch where the trees are just about 3 feet away from
Oh, I can just see where this is going.
we found out where she went. She was periodically hopping out of the tree line, screaming things
Can you?
at Nick. Mommy loves you. Take me home. Where's your father? And
What?
she would scream, crying, please
Can
don't
you
leave.
see
She
where
just
it's
ran these
going?
temps on the vehicle. It just seemed like
Yeah.
she
A
was
little bit.
tracking us and following us and continuing to
I
try
don't
to
think so.
manipulate Nick.
What do you
Let me tell
think?
it
Where do you
never
think it's
got less
going?
creepy than she was always
Well, this part, I don't know where the fuck it's going, but that little part I knew where it was going. Like she was gonna jump in and out of the tree lines. Bruh. This is some whack shit, homeboy.
We finally get to the lodge and we see
Do you want me to throw it on rank or no?
inside of his truck, looking pretty confused and frustrated. We tactically pull up next to the truck so we can get Nick into his vehicle as soon as possible. But the second we stop, Nick jumps out of the vehicle and runs to his dad, crying, saying, I want to go home. His dad gives him a quick pat on the back and says, don't worry, buddy, I'm taking you home. He says, wait in the car, I have to talk to these guys really quick. We walk up and he very frustratedly asks, are you guys going to tell me why I had to rush here first thing in the morning? I have no idea what we're going to tell this guy and how we're going to rush him to leave. But the ranger quickly replies that every child on his campsite needs to be accompanied by a responsible adult. As the father's asking where the mother is, she pops out of the woods, hustling up to us, announcing to the crowd, finally my husband's here. She's walking up to him, starting to approach him, kind of looking maybe for a hug or an embrace, and he puts his hand up and starts backing up towards his truck. He says, I cannot believe you right now. And she just replies in a kind of sad voice, I just want my husband to take me home. He talks over and says, Kristen, don't play that shit. We've been divorced for over a year. He starts scanning her. He's looking her up and down. He has disgust on his face. And I take a look at her. She's looking really drawn out, sleep deprived, and exhausted. In that moment, I can't help but to think, is she a mirror of the real Kristen? But the father cuts off my train of thought and says, you promised me you were done drinking, and I gave you 1 week alone with him, and you can't keep yourself together. She gets like a little whimper out. Can you please just drive me home? And he says, absolutely not. Pull yourself together and take yourself home. He storms into his truck and drives off, and I can't believe that he did our job for us. And for just a brief second, it felt like we won, until she takes off, sprinting back into the trees. Takes one look at each other, and we all have an understanding that she's trying to beat us back to camp so she can switch into somebody else before we get there. That moment of relief immediately turned into the most bumpy, chaotic, off-roading experience of my life. Because we have no idea how long it's going to take her to get back, but we know even at our top speed, it's going to take us 40 minutes. The ride back was far too loud for us to talk or have any type of conversation, so I'm just in my head thinking, what are we going to do with her when we go back? Because what's the point of finding Kristen if we come back and have found a new host, and we have to go through the same process all over again? When we pull up to the campsite, I'm damn near expecting this thing to be dragging somebody else into the woods with how surprised the campsite is completely vacant. Sam just blurts out, where is everyone? The ranger fills us in that he had the camp guys take everybody onto the pontoons for a fishing excursion. So nobody was at the campsite for her to prey on while we were gone. But they might get back before we find the real Kristen. So we have to make this thing come on the search with us. I butt in right away and I go, how do you expect us to do that? And the ranger looks me in the face and says, by any means necessary. We hop off the golf cart and we start walking with a purpose towards the campsite, assuming that she's hiding somewhere. But she's just sitting in the middle of the campsite on one of the logs by the bonfire, rocking back and forth. I see something on the log next to her, but as we get closer, I see that there's 3 crows sitting on the log to her right, and they're just standing there, perfectly perched on this thing, with exact spacing between them, as if they're in formation. As we're walking up, I'm mentally preparing to fight this thing and drag it into the forest with us. I can tell by the way everybody's walking that nobody has any idea how this interaction is going to go and if she's going to get violent. But I know that I'm prepared to do whatever I have to do to save the real Kristen. I know they are too. Park ranger sternly says to her, you're coming with us right now. And she just keeps rocking and mumbles back, do you know what that words mean? He cuts her off and says, you're coming in the forest with us right now to find that woman. She looks up at us almost excited with a really optimistic look on her face. She stands up really delicately and starts walking towards the tree line and says, I'd love to go in the forest with you. Put a pause in the action really quick. If you haven't grabbed a hoodie or a t-shirt yet, I would do so ASAP because we only do small batches and once they're gone, they're gone. We do not restock information. He points at the ranger and says, you're at the once they're gone, they're gone. We do not restock. Back to the story. She stands up really delicately and starts walking towards the tree line and says, I'd love to go in the forest with you. Sam immediately takes charge and says, let's do a triangle formation. He points at the ranger and says, you're at the point, and then me and Doug will be on either side of her. Doug will scan the right, I'll scan the left, and she'll stay in the middle of all of us, so she can't go anywhere. Me and the ranger just both nod in confirmation. The mimic seems so okay with this idea and just takes her place in the middle of the formation. It makes me so uncomfortable how willing she is to just do this, but we don't have a choice at this point, and we need to just go looking. Once we're in formation, we start our descent to the tree line. I'm trying to do my job and just keep scanning the right for clues, but I can't help but to keep checking on her to make sure she's not getting any crazy ideas. We're walking for about 3 minutes, and when I peek back at her, there's something different about her. I want to take a better look at her, so I speed up for a second, and her face looks full and vibrant. The bags under her eyes are gone, her posture is perfect, and she's almost giving off an aura. And the aura was eerily similar to the glow that the stairs had. The forest is super dense, and there's not a lot of sunlight that gets through the trees. And Sam and the ranger look completely shaded, but she looks like the sunlight's hitting her. She doesn't look like she's in the shadow of the forest, and that makes me internally panic, because I already didn't like how happy she was to come in here. I really don't like that. Once we're in here, she's thriving. So I look away from her to just start really looking for clues. And as we keep hiking, everything in the forest starts looking the same. I start to feel a little disoriented and dizzy, but I just focus on the trees. Before I know it, I feel like so much time has passed, and I just feel out of touch with the situation. It felt like I was in an infinite loop of paranoia, and I realized I haven't checked on her or anybody else in the group for what feels like hours. So when I finally pull myself away from the haze, I pan back to the group, and the park ranger is standing where she was, and she's now at the head of the group. Me, Sam, and the ranger are just standing single file behind her. I have no idea when that switch happened, and I could tell that Sam and the ranger haven't realized the switch happened yet. I'm not even looking for clues at this point. I'm just disoriented and confused. Barely remember why we're even out here, until the park ranger shakes his head really hard, like he's shaking the trance off, and blurts out, stop. He slaps me and Sam on the chest to stop us from walking. This is the first time I've seen real panic in the ranger's eyes. He starts questioning me and Sam if we have any idea
people over here
or what direction we went. We all frantically check our watches and phones, but none of them were working. She had stopped walking about 10 feet ahead of us and just turned around and was calmly looking at us.
God damn it, he's one hit. Yeah, and then the other guy didn't hit at all.
And she just
I'm fucking with him.
We all turn our gaze
Get him. Oh, so close.
Too.
glass stairs spiraling.
I did too.
They were like stairs that you would see in the loft, but they were sticking out of the bark of the tree. And I realized that the real Kristen is sitting in the fetal position, completely motionless, inside of the oval gap. And I realized that the real Kristen is sitting in the fetal position, completely motionless, inside of the oval gap. We're all just standing there in disbelief for a moment, and questions just start flooding my brain. Why would this thing take us directly to Kristen? Is it surrendering? Is it a trap? Was it planning to lead us here the whole time? I take a better look at the tree, and it's giving off the same illumination that her and the first staircase were giving off. I start to get those intrusive thoughts again. I feel oddly drawn to it, but I know better than to act on them because of the first time. I look back at the other guys to see the reaction on their face, but when I look at Sam, the mimic is right next to him with her hand on his shoulder, whispering in his ear. I didn't even see this thing walk up to him. I take a step towards them, but before I can even get a word out, it whips its head towards me and mockingly says, "Porcupine." Sam's eyes are completely glazed over. He's just staring at the tree motionless. She takes a slight pause, tilts her head mockingly, and takes her hand off his shoulder, and he immediately starts sprinting towards the tree. He gets a little bit of a head start on me, but I start chasing him right away because I could tell that something's off. As we're getting closer to the tree, I could tell he's not sprinting towards Kristen, he's sprinting towards the stairs, because the direction that he's sprinting is like 5 degrees off from the oval gap. I close in on him and I get one hand on his back. I was slowing him down, but I couldn't stop him from getting to the second step of the stairs because of the momentum that he had built. And once he touched, I felt the stairs give off a vibrating pulse with each step. It was like somebody banged a drum the moment each foot hit one of the steps. I get my second hand on him and I rip him off the stairs once I get enough traction on my feet. I get him to the ground and I have to restrain him with all of my strength because he is trying as hard as he can to get back to these stairs. Sam is not a small or feeble guy by any means, and I have to use all of my strength to restrain him. But he's not fighting
Essentially the next one in this series.
Alright.
His eyes are just fixated on the
It's like
stairs.
it's a part 3, or it's part 1 of 3, so you're gonna have to dig for the other ones, but I could send them to you too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I look up to see what stopped it, and I see the ranger pulling Kristen out of the tree. It seems like the moment he pulled her out, he stopped. Me and the ranger look at each other, and our eyes are asking each other, "What now?" And then we all look back towards the mimic. And this thing had such a satisfied, devious look on its face, until its face started to fade away to nothing. And just like the ranger explained with the hippie, it starts to evaporate and almost become one with the forest. Once it completely disappeared, I look back to Sam to see if he's okay.
I'm landing on you.
So we immediately start putting all of our attention towards Kristen and huddle around her, and the ranger is giving her water. We're so relieved when she starts slowly regaining consciousness. It takes about a full minute for her to start making sounds and for her eyes to start opening. Once she looks coherent enough, the ranger asks her if she's okay, and she just lightly replies, "What took you guys so long? It's been days." The ranger follows up and asks her if she remembers anything, and she barely gets out, "It told me you'd come. It told me I'd be safe by the stairs." And she barely gets out, "It told me you'd come. It told me I'd be safe by the stairs." I really want this AK, but this is going way too slow. These troops, my goodness, that is so helpful. Okay, let's get these little babies out of here and get this minigun. Go there.
Oh, don't push, don't push.
Until Sam whispered to me, "That's exactly what the mimic said when we first found it." But this realization to me was absolutely world-shattering, because I realized that we
God damn it.
It's like the mimic knew we were going to find her like this.
Knocked one.
Then even more questions start flooding my mind. Did it not want to get out of the
How'd he be able to build before you was my question.
This thing looks so
I know, I fucking bogey bombed his ass. God damn it.
She's severely dehydrated and starving, so I don't really have time to think. We
Well,
just
get
have
in
slowly
here.
rehydrating from the ranger's canteen and nibbling on protein bars from Sam's pack. I want to leave so bad, but we have to wait till she's strong enough to walk herself. The forest is way too dense for us to carry her, so we just assist her about 30 feet away from the stairs because it doesn't feel right just hanging out right next to them. We have to wait there for like 30 minutes, and part of me is very curious to see if the stairs do anything, disappear, or transform in any way. We don't start questioning Kristen.
Do I got any?
We just want
Hold
her
on.
to focus on hydrating and getting better. We also as gentle and consoling as we possibly can. I could tell we all don't want her to see how shaken up we are because we just want her to
smoke some weed or something on top, huh?
we all kind of huddle up to start our gameplay. Our phones are working now, and even though the data's kind of spotty, we can see that we're only about a mile away from camp. Once I let them know that we're only about a mile away, I could see it in their face that we had the same exact experience, because they're as surprised as I am, because it felt like whatever the mimic did to us went on for hours. But before we could start talking and get into detail about any of our experiences, Kristen speaks up. Of course, she's asking to see if Nick is safe and okay. At this point, she's standing up and seems okay to start walking, so we all walk over to her and ensure that Nick is safe. We calmly explained to her that we didn't feel safe having Nick at the campsite while we were still looking for her, just in case he tried to run off and look for her himself. She had a little bit of a shame in her face, but she nodded and accepted that as a pretty reasonable explanation. The ranger gently asked her if she's okay to start walking back to camp, and she nods okay. So we gather all of our stuff and start walking for about 20 feet before the most putrid, heinous, sour, rotten smell hits my nose. It's like I took a whiff of the strongest smelling salt with how it shocked my system. I know that we all smell it at once based on everybody's body language. I immediately whip my head around to see if the source of it is the stairs. And of course, the stairs are nowhere to be found. And the ranger looks at us and quietly but sternly says, we need to leave right now. And the ranger looks at us and quietly but sternly says, we need to leave right now. We all feel guilty rushing Kristen after all she's been through, but it's clear that the ranger feels like we need to leave the area with a sense of urgency. So we really start picking up the pace and moving, but it feels like the smell is following. It smells like a mix of sour sewage, rotten meat, and sulfur.
Someone's getting rebooted. Right here.
What is that smell? Sam replies quietly because I don't think he wants Kristen to hear, and he says it's a carcass. He says it with a certainty.
I'm gonna push.
I know it's from experience from his days as Army Ranger. I whisper back, what are there carcasses everywhere? Because I don't see them. The ranger cuts me off and says, you swallowed us. But he says it in a way that Kristen wouldn't be able to tell what he actually meant. But me and Sam knew what he was implying. And the look on his face was also implying that we should be quiet. He finished our whispering conversation by saying, if you see antlers, keep your head down and keep walking. I know I can't reply verbally, but internally I cynically joke, great, I don't just have to worry about magical stairs and a faceless mimic. Now I have to worry about a territorial stinky elk. With all the wild
God damn it. I missed all my shots.
And the last thing that we need is to be rushed by the 600-pound. We get through most of the hike back with zero complications. We could start to see the edge of the campsite through the trees. We're only about 100 yards away from the finish line when we hear an elk scream coming from behind us. If you've never heard an elk scream, it's horrifying and borderline human-like. I encourage you to look it up on YouTube. We start to pick up the speed a little bit until we're about 20 feet away from the campsite. The elk starts
That was the worst idea I had, was to push them because they were rebooting and we fucking got our ass handed to us.
Kristen panically whips her head towards the ranger and
Turn
says,
the lobby and not spectating these retards.
Kristen panically whips her head towards the ranger and says, that was me.
Not
I
pissing
thought you
off.
said my son was safe. The ranger grabs her by both shoulders, not in an aggressive way, but in a comforting way. In a way that what he's about to say to her, she needs to listen. I promise that that was not your son. Right now, we just need to get you to the lodge, and the second we get there, we'll call him, I promise. Okay? And then to break the tension a little bit, he says with a smile, I just found you. Please don't go running off in the woods again. This comforted Kristen enough to get her through the tree line. When we got out of the woods, it felt like I could finally breathe again. We were only in there for about 3 hours, but with everything that happened, I couldn't believe that it was just passing through. The campsite was still empty, but we needed to get Kristen onto the vehicle and headed to the lodge before anybody came back. Because it would raise a lot of questions with the other campers. Why is she still here? It was common knowledge that she was supposed to get shipped off in the morning. We could tell she's peeking towards the campsite looking for her belongings, but the ranger gets ahead of it and says, don't worry, your stuff left with Nick. It was the easiest way for us. So now let's get you home. In my head, I'm considering asking her what she remembers. But during the 2-minute walk to the vehicle, I can tell that she's fully under the impression that she had a couple too many and got herself lost. I can see the embarrassment building on her face, but for our current situation, that's kind of ideal because we just need to get her out of here. She climbs into the vehicle, but before they drive off, the park ranger walkie-talkies the camp guys. He alerts them to bring the campers back to the campsite because there's aggressive elk in the area, and he doesn't want them walking back after dark where they can't see them. On the other end, the camp guide replies, don't worry, we're already on our way back to camp because there was an aggressive cold front and nobody was dressed for it. I don't know what it was about what the camp guide said, but it puts a sense of urgency into the ranger, and he starts walking away but shouts to us before he gets into the vehicle, boys, I'll get back as soon as I can. Stay away from the tree line, and if you smell it, hide. Stay away from the tree line. And
smell it and hide.
And then watch them run off. It's only absolutely exhausting. I catch myself just thinking about the devious look on the mimic's face before it disappeared, and it reminds me to check on my friend. This is the first time me and Sam have had a minute to talk since everything happened. So I just open up the conversation with, should we leave? And Sam just goes, we can't. If it was just you that touched the stairs, I'd say let's go. But I can't leave knowing that I might have just made it worse because I couldn't keep that thing out of my head. I'm not surprised at that answer whatsoever. I knew that we were staying before I even asked the question. Because now he feels exactly the way I feel, responsible for all of this. I try to comfort comfort him a little bit, and I just say, don't worry, man, she got me too with whatever time loop trance that was. Sam looks at me funny and says, time loop? Mine wasn't like that at all. Mine felt like sleep paralysis. I saw everything happening. I saw you losing it, stumbling. I saw the ranger voluntarily switch with her, and I was trying to scream, but nothing was coming out. And then she started talking to me, but not out loud. She was in my head, bro. She just kept telling me that it was my turn to go up the stairs, and that we should really stop fighting it, and that there was nothing that we could do. And she just kept asking me, do I know what the crows mean? And then I cut in and asked him, did she tell you what they meant? Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about them. And Sam just goes, no, she was just taunting me with the question. But she did say that we'll know what they mean when we get back to camp. And that was basically our cue to start walking back to camp, because we're both looking for answers. I keep the dialogue going, and I ask him, if our experience...
Yeah, I'm still waiting to load in.
He jokingly replies, I'm sure it was something...
I'm still watching.
But I'm much more interested to see if he knows about the source of that smell. We walk quietly for a second, headed straight towards the logs to sit down. We can see from a distance that the crows are still perched exactly where they were, and we just sit on the log straight across from them. It's funny because we were so tired, we didn't even have enough energy to be scared of the crows. We're just sitting having a standoff with these things. They're staring at us, and we're staring at them, and then the one all the way to the left just squawks and flies away. We just look at each other and nod. It turns out the mimic was right. We knew exactly what they meant. It turns out the mimic was right. We knew exactly what they meant. Sam just casually says, 1 down, 2 to go. And then he follows up and kind of shamefully asks me, did I do what you did? He was implying, did he have a seizure as well? And I said, no, it just seemed like you were trying to rush to the top, but I stopped you before you could get there. He says, did you feel the vibrations? And I say, yeah. It felt like each step that you took up the stairs let off a pulse, almost like 2 gongs. Sam's eyes light up, and he says, that happened when you stepped on it too, but only 1. He asked me, do you think there's a correlation between how many steps you go up and the severity of the consequences? I just say, I really hope not. And right then, we hear laughing and talking approaching us. It's the group of campers coming back from fishing. Luckily, the chatter sounds very upbeat. So that gives us a little bit of relief because we know nothing bad happened to them while they're out there. Me and Sam do our best to shake off all of our stress, so we don't alarm anybody coming up to them. We're just having small talk with everybody while everybody's unloading all of their gear before everybody gets together for lunch. Once everybody's settled in, one of the camp guides starts going around and he's doing a head count. And he shouts, we're 1 short. Everybody look around. Who's missing? Everybody looks around to their immediate family and friends, and then 2 guys speak up playfully. They're both early 30s, like real outdoors.
Where we landing?
Say, don't worry guys, that's just our buddy. He was too good to go on the pontoon because he's a fly fisher. So he's fishing right off the shore. We'll go grab him.
Because I really don't care. You know what I mean?
I figured maybe you'd get home, you'd give us some better luck.
The camp guide says go grab him and ask if anybody else wants to go with him. There's a couple elk in the area, and the bigger the group, the more likely the elk is to mind his own business. Sam puts his game face on, and with a big smile he says, we'll go with them. We've been stuck at the campsite all day. We could use a walk. The camp guide seems okay with that idea, just says, hurry up. The food's gonna be ready in 20. It feels so weird to me that Sam and I have to act and pretend like everything's okay. And part of me is kind of envious of the other campers, their ignorance of the situation. This was supposed to be a fun trip, but now it just feels like an undercover horror story. We all stand up and start
Which
walking,
building you landing?
introducing ourselves to each other. And these guys turn out to actually be really
Everyone's landing there.
The guys named and they explain to us
low.
that they're on a guy's trip.
Yeah, I'm going in the middle of the field. Wish me luck.
Tom is really into hunting, and they absolutely live for trips like this. I start to get even more envious because they sound like they're having such fun.
Really?
But hanging with those guys for a bit and cracking jokes is exactly what I needed. Because I almost started to feel okay before we made it to the lake. As we were closing in on it, the ground started to have a frozen crunch to it, and I got blasted in the face with what felt like a gust of winter wind.
Another one?
October, and this type of cold felt like deep winter. It felt so unnatural at the time.
How the
lake has a 1/4-inch layer of ice on the top, and it extended about 15 feet into the water. I didn't like
He killed me with a pistol and I shot him right to the head.
Joe and Tom are just cracking.
It only took 25 with a shotgun.
Pete should have brought his ice fishing gear. They explained that Pete is probably just around this bend of trees, about 100 yards to the left of us. Sam asked them, when did this cold front hit? And they just casually say about an hour and a half ago. In my head, I know that lines up just about.
How the hell do I keep missing?
Sam ran up those stairs. I started to have a horrible feeling.
Shoot at the ground. There you go.
So I just stay quiet until we get around the bend of trees. I'm just looking at the ground while we're walking because I'm scared to see what's around this bend of trees. And I hear Joe shout, hey Pete, it's time to head back. He said it in a really upbeat tone, and that gave me the heart to look up. Do you smell that? It smells like Echo catered this year. We're about to go food. I see Pete standing about ankle deep in the water, as fly fishers usually do. But he's not facing the lake. He's facing the trees, and the water is frozen around his feet. But he doesn't look like he's in distress. He almost looks elated. He's got a big smile on his face, and he's just scanning the trees, but he's not fishing, and his eyes are darting around a little bit too much. I instinctually just grab Sam's arm, and then Tom shouts, "Come on, bro, you can't fish in that." Pete swings his head towards us, finally realizing that we were walking up, and then he just announces in like a euphoric manner, "I never want to leave. We love it here. I never want to leave." Super confused, and I don't know if I'm jumping to bad conclusions because of what happened earlier. I can't tell if Pete is trolling us and if this is an inside joke between him and his friends. So I just stand by to see how
Was
Joe
that you?
and then Joe shouts from
What?
the shore,
That commented?
"Good," and Pete is just scanning the trees
No.
and just repeats himself. "I never want to leave. We love it out here." Sam butts in and says, "Hey guys, I think the cold front hit him hard and he's a bit delirious. We gotta get him out of there." He said it firmly, but not in a way that would strike panic into Joe and Tom. They start to walk in the water and the ice breaks, and Tom immediately says, "Oh guys, we gotta get him out of here. The water's freezing. Who knows how long his feet have been in there." They put one of his
Hello,
arms around
whoever
each
said
of their
hi.
shoulders and they lift him out of the water. And then they high step back to the shore because the ice is cracking.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel when I do it too. I'm like, I don't know who you are, but what's up?
And they just seem like regular hiking shoes. So I touch the water with my fingers, and it's gotta be under 40 degrees. So there's no way he could have been standing in that this whole time. Sam says with a little more urgency, "We need to get him back and check him for frostbite right now." Tom and Joe seem a little bit more concerned, and they're asking him if he's okay. And he just seems so happy. And he's just saying, "Of course I'm okay. I love it out here. It's so beautiful." His delight for this situation is damn near spiraling me into a panic attack. Because once I got a closer look at him, his eyes had a similar glaze to Sam's eyes when the mimic had. Tom and Joe have him on each shoulder, and then me and Sam grab each of his legs so we could carry him back to camp efficiently without him doing any more damage to his feet. He doesn't seem to mind this at all, and he's just saying things like how beautiful things are out here and that we should have seen it. Once he said we should have seen it, me and Sam look at each other, and I could tell that he's asking the same question that I am. What it did he see? Then I start asking myself, if he saw the mimic, then our theory about the crows is absolutely wrong. We thought one flew away because we beat the mimic. The last question I ask myself before we get to the camp, if it isn't the mimic, what is it? As we get closer to the campsite, his voice starts to fade to more normal and a little bit more distressed. He starts complaining about his feet and asking his buddies what happened. You'd think that him acting like he isn't okay would make me more concerned, but it actually made me feel a little bit better because when I took a peek at his face, his eyes were normal, and whatever state that he was in had faded. Everybody at the camp is looking at us and asking what happened, and his buddies speak up for him and say that he got stuck in some ice, but he's fine. They're trying to downplay it because they're not trying to embarrass their friend. And he's not in such bad shape that we have to be super concerned immediately. But we haven't checked his feet. We walk him over to the far end of the fire, and then we sit him down on the log. And we all
There's so much people here. God damn it.
take his shoes off so nobody else can see. We untie them and
Someone just ran down here.
start to see a deep red ring around his ankle. Tom starts to peel his left sock down slowly because we aren't sure about the damage on it. And luckily, they're just
Nobody.
we all let out a sigh of
He has a minigun now. He has shotgun and minigun.
your feet pretty close to the fire, and we just got to get you some dry socks and shoes. I was almost expecting bright blue feet. I didn't like the way he looked.
It's what?
He gave me and Sam enough
So
relief to
many
enjoy
people.
lunch with our new friends.
Yeah, that was some bad luck.
Hearing all of their stories of past trips that they've taken together. Me and Sam really like the outdoors, but these guys were real outdoors. I was actually having a good time for the first time since I touched the stairs. The sun starts to go down a bit, and Tom announces that he has to go to sleep now because he has a trapping excursion in the morning. Me, Pete, Joe, and Sam start to give him a hard time a bit, but he didn't budge and he just heads to his tent. Pete seems to have fully come around and he's been acting completely normal for a couple hours at this point. We can tell his feet are bugging him a little bit, but he's doing his best to not be a hassle. We're in the middle of chatting about the NFL playoff picture and who's looking good this season when I see Pete gaze off into the woods and starts sniffing the air a little bit. Joe is rambling about how the Bears have a chance this season when Pete lets out this weird and he's saying, "Do you smell that? It smells so good." The way he said it really rubbed me the wrong way. And right then, that smell from the woods hit my nose. And then Pete announces, Joe, look at that beautiful moose." I see Joe look into the tree line right behind us, and then his eyes just go up as if he's looking at something 15 feet tall. And then his eyes just go up as if he's looking at something 15 feet tall. Pete's eyes look exactly like they did when we found him at the lake. Joe is sitting motionless staring, and I see his eyes changing too. I can hear something behind me breaking twigs and bumping into branches. And whatever it is talking. It's whispering in this unnatural cadence. The voice sounded distorted and almost croaky. It's like it was multiple voices talking over each other in an eerie run-on sentence. It's like its words were layered like a symphony, so I couldn't make out what he was saying. Then Joe blurts out with the same disturbing optimism in his voice. Well, isn't that thing lovely? Come on, boys, take a look. I was frozen, just staring at Joe, until Sam slaps and grabs my knee and says, head down. I immediately look at the ground beneath my feet. Everything in me is telling me to run, and I just hear the ranger's voice in my head. If you smell it, hide. I whisper to Sam, bro, we need to hide. He whispers back, it's already here. Remember, if you see antlers, head down. For the first minute, I feel like at any second, this thing is going to charge us from behind. But the worst part about all of it is how Pete and Joe are acting. They just keep announcing things like, it's so beautiful, you guys have to see it. Just turn around, fellas, you guys are going to miss it. It's right there. All
It's
that
on
beauty
you.
is right behind you. It's so gorgeous. And the one that really threw me off, Pete goes, come on, guys, it just really wants you for over 10 minutes. Me and Sam are just squeezed together on the log with our head between our knees like a tornado drill at school. And these two guys are just trying to coerce us into turning around. And they're not even acknowledging that we're basically in the fetal position with our arms covering our heads. We were hanging out with them for hours before this. And these two guys are both extremely socially intelligent. We were having nuanced conversations, and they were picking up on subtle sarcasm facial expressions. But now they're just completely out of touch, delirious and aggressively optimistic. These guys are completely in their own world. We're almost 15 minutes in, and they both go completely quiet. I could see
So you want to land there?
and then I feel
Landing
a
at the
firm grip
tunnel.
on my left wrist. I could see Joe's
Alright.
looking over to me, and then I feel a firm grip on my left wrist. I'm ready to blast double this guy and bury my forehead into his chest so he can't pry my eyes open to look at whatever is behind us. But he just gives my wrist a light shake, lets go of it, and calmly says, it's time for bed, guys, in a completely regular, groggy voice as he walks away towards the tents. I peek up towards him. I see Pete limping towards the tents too. I don't hear the voice anymore behind me, but I can't tell if the smell is gone or if it's just burnt into my senses. Sam grabs me by the tricep and picks me up and says, head down towards the tent. I want to run towards the tent, but I don't want to catch up to Joe and Pete. So we just slowly walk behind them until they're at their tent. And he just calls back to us and says, night, fellas, as if what just happened didn't happen. Once their tents are zipped up, we beeline towards our tent. We get into our tent, and I don't even know what to say. I see how exhausted Sam is, and I feel how he looks. This has been absolutely the longest day of my life. Mind you, we were up at sunrise, dropping Nick off to his father. We spent the afternoon searching for and saving Kristen, and the early evening carrying Pete to the tent and tending to his feet. And the second things feel like they might be...
I haven't got a single fucking weapon, homeboy.
Me and Sam don't even have the energy to talk over what just happened, and I fall asleep within moments of lying down. I wake up to the sound of a vehicle being driven up to camp. I was having a surprisingly pleasant dream, but once the dream state faded, my mind flooded with all of the events of yesterday, and all the peace that I was feeling while I was dreaming was completely overshadowed by waking up back into this nightmarish reality. It hits me that this vehicle must be the ranger returning back to camp, so I just jump to my knees and shake Sam awake, and I say the ranger's back, as I get ready to go find him. We hustle over to him as he's getting out of his vehicle, and I can see that he can tell that something's wrong. I realize that as I'm walking up to him, I'm very upset with him, and I guess Sam was too, because Sam just barks, where have you been? And before he even gets the chance to answer, I follow up. I say, you didn't tell us it was going to follow us to the campsite. He puts both of his hands out, gesturing us to calm down, and he says, I'm sorry.
I saw a guy up here.
Everything I know. One more quick word before
What?
we keep going. If you love
I
these
saw a
stories
guy
and
up
want to
here.
get closer to the community,
Yeah, I need to grab a weapon at least. I ain't got nothing.
This channel is funded by the people, not by gross sponsors. So if you love my content,
Alright, I grabbed that scoped AR. You see someone, mark them.
Well, I just know that
and he says, I'm sorry.
there's somebody over here.
Oh, someone's landing on you. Well, to the right of you.
First off, Kristen is
He's pushing you.
Secondly, I couldn't come back right away because I had to prep the lodge to house all of these campers to bring them there. I got
Thank you.
If I stole that.
No, I needed that.
And the second that I brought up the smell, they all urged me to evacuate. But I couldn't evacuate people to a place
Take
that
these,
isn't ready
take
to
those.
house them. And I couldn't just tell them to leave without causing a major issue. Nobody will believe the reason, and all it's going to do is cost these camp guides their livelihood. Sam butts in right away and says, what about costing these people their lives? The ranger puts his hands up again, gesturing, hold on, I'm getting there, just keep listening. Listen, we go years without incidents like this, and we could get through one more night at the lodge without anybody panicking or getting hurt. And I chimed in, what about getting through today, because that thing got to Pete in broad daylight. The ranger is literally taken off guard by this, and he goes, what do you mean it got to Pete? We proceed to fill him in with how we found Pete by the lake, acting absolutely...
Oh, behind us.
He doesn't seem to have an answer for this, and Sam piles on and says, I thought you were going to tell us everything, so why don't you go ahead and start by telling us what that thing is? The ranger takes a deep breath as if he's getting ready to give us an extremely long-winded answer. And he starts by saying, the rangers call it antlers, because apparently you're not supposed to say its real name in this book. I've already
God damn it.
this answer, so I cut him off.
Where the fuck even is that guy in the...
The ranger looks kind of ticked off by how I'm talking to him, but he can tell that we're sick of him dancing around the details. The ranger goes, okay, and points over to the campground and says, you see them? You want to know the difference between me and them? The only difference is that I saw something that I wasn't supposed to. I signed up for this job because I love these things, and I wanted to share my love for nature with anybody that was curious. But when you spend enough time out here, you start to notice things that don't make sense. You start to see stairs that shouldn't be there. You start to see swings that swing by themselves, and doors that lead to nowhere. And then you start asking questions. And then once you start asking too many questions to the only authority figures above you, as he points to his ranger badge, you get taken into a private meeting with all the other rangers. And then you take an oath to protect people from any harm that is hidden in these woods. You get sworn to secrecy for all the information that they're about to tell you. But you realize almost immediately that all of the information in this room comes from word of mouth and stories from other rangers' experiences. So I only know what I've been told or what I've seen for myself. There's some things like the stairs that are common and have similar patterns to other ranger stories. But most of the stuff that happens out here is incredibly random and makes little to no sense. I don't know what me and Sam were expecting. Part of me wanted him to have like some little notebook that had a list of every entity and their weaknesses. But this guy's almost venting to us about his frustration about knowing so little. So Sam speaks up and says, so basically you're telling us that you know as much as we do. He shakes his head and says, no, absolutely not. I have an encyclopedia of stories from other rangers in my head. And there's some things that we have a good grasp on how to handle. But as far as what's happening in these parks as a whole, all of the rangers have completely different theories. I still feel like he's dancing around our questions, so I just bluntly say, so then what are the theories? I could still see frustration on his face, and I could tell that he kind of doesn't want to be shamed for his theory. And he starts getting slightly defensive. He says, listen, I don't believe in Sasquatch.
You hear what I'm listening to?
No.
Other rangers buy into that, but I think these things are legitimately demons. And I think these demons
Um,
have certain rules that they need to abide by. And I think that when you interact with these obscure traps that they set in these forests, and then he gestures to me, insinuating that me touching these stairs was me
on
falling
you.
for a trap. They almost get permission in some weird way to cross over into our plane. And then Sam asks the obvious question. Okay, then what did I let loose, and what did I give it permission to do? Okay, then what did I let loose, and what did I give it permission to do? The ranger replies, like I said, I only know what I've been told or what I've seen. And the smell reminded me of a story that a ranger from the Appalachians told me. He was guiding a hunt with 6 men out in Virginia. He usually only takes people a couple miles in, and they have no problem finding a target. The first 5 guys got their bucks in the first 2 days, but the last guy in the group said he just saw a big buck right over a ridge and basically begged me to help him track it. He said it was absolutely beautiful and trophy worthy. So I took everybody a couple miles further into the mountains because he seemed so excited about it. But every time we got close, he kept saying it was just a little bit further. And I couldn't seem to find it in my binoculars, but he seemed so sure. He started naming Appalachians that I wasn't super familiar with. And I wasn't comfortable taking these guys any deeper into the mountains. And then the guy said, but I see it right there. So I said, if you see it, then take the shot. And the guy paused for a second and said, but I don't want to shoot it. I want to go with it. So right then I called off the hike and I made everybody set up camp for the night. Because he was putting everybody in harm's way. And we were so far out that we were going to have to spend the entire next day just hiking back. But that night we were hearing sounds from the woods that I had never heard before. And I made everybody stay in their
Where the fuck
the
is
guy
it?
that took us on this wild goose chase refused. And he was just lingering, wandering around our camp, talking about how it was right there and that we should all come see it. I knew something was off with his behavior, but the smell that overtook the camp that night was something that I'll never forget. And when we woke up the next
Are you on me?
morning,
No, but there's definitely people right outside
every last
of me.
piece of food we had. He got through all of the energy bars and dry food, and then he even got through the raw meat that we brought to cook. It was like he had horrible tapeworms and an insatiable hunger. Once I saw the way he was acting, I immediately called off the
On me, on me.
stopped the other guys from assaulting because he just single-handedly put us in a survival situation. And the only thing that
Got him.
calmed down
One of them at least.
we need to head back now because we don't have enough food for 2 days. He refused to come.
This
He put me in a position
controller
that I had
sticky
absolutely
is
no
getting down.
choice but to leave him. Otherwise, there was no way we
Oh, I hear you, Brody.
everybody would have starved. And this guy just seemed so happy to stay. So ever since then, the rule on my hunts is that if you ever smell sulfur and see antlers, you leave the area immediately. Me and Sam didn't want to cut the range.
Oh yeah, when you smell sulfur, that it's usually the demonic smell.
To the man from that story, minus eating
Usually it's
and
an
then we
indigo.
proceed to explain the incident with the moose from the night before.
Yeah.
The ranger has extreme guilt on his face at this point, and I could tell that he was not expecting things to go so south so quickly. And then I see some recognition in his face, and he asks, didn't they come with the 3rd guy? And then we explain to him that Tom went to sleep before it happened and that he left early to go trap it. Now there's panic on the ranger's face, and he says, we need to go find him.
Where the fuck is this guy's buddy?
I don't know, but he no longer exists. No, in front of me. North. might be in the frickin' cornfield, so just be aware.
No, his footsteps are over here.
Now there's panic.
I stole that, my fault.
We need to go find Tom. The ranger starts to storm off, but Sam puts his hand on the ranger's chest and says, how about instead of running off into the woods again, you start by telling me the rules this thing lives by, so I can do what I need to do to keep these innocent people safe. Because clearly your only priority is to keep us in the dark and keep the money flowing into the camp. I was not expecting Sam to talk to the ranger like that, and frankly, I don't think the ranger was either, because he doesn't say anything. And then Sam continues to pile on. You aren't going anywhere until I see you make sure that everyone in this campsite is accounted for and set up for a safe hike back to the lodge. And then the ranger starts frantically rambling about how he can't cause panic amongst the campers, and that he's just trying to do his best, but he can't tell everybody everything. And Sam cuts him off again, and he says, you are going to go tell the camp guides to let everybody know that there's been too many elk sightings in the area and it's not safe for kids, and that everybody is packing up and heading out as soon as possible. And then you're going to tell them that elk don't respond well to eye contact, so if they see antlers or smell sulfur, to keep their head down and keep moving. Do you understand me? I'm fully on board for that one, but I'm not sure how the ranger's going to take these clear orders from Sam. But to my surprise, he just swiftly nods okay. Then Sam says, now, what are the rules this thing abides by? And don't even think about telling me another story. The ranger seems to be surrendering and takes a deep breath and says, well, I don't think this one's like the mimic. I don't think its priority is to get out. I think this one's goal is to lure as many people as deep into the park as it possibly can. But I don't know where it's leading people or what it's capable of once it gets people there. But from what I've heard, it's capable of unspeakable things. Sam sternly says thank you. Get everybody to start packing. Me and Doug are going to patrol the tree line to make sure everybody stays in the middle of camp. And we all just nodded. I'm so happy that Sam just took control of the situation, because this is the first time it feels like we have a real plan. Instead of being stuck in a reactionary loop, Sam cuts off my train of thought and starts giving me orders. No kids by the tree line, and we know where Joe and Pete are at all times. Understood? After about 5 minutes of patrolling and thinking over the events of the past few days, I asked Sam something that's really been
Scoped revolver.
I think the mimic knew our safe word. He swings his head towards me and says, what do you mean it knew our safe word? And then I remind him that it said it right before he sprinted towards the stairs. He looks absolutely furious and says, why didn't you tell me that earlier? I immediately get defensive and say, you said you saw everything happen. I thought you heard that too. His anger turns to concern and he starts rifling through his backpack. He pulls out a notepad and starts rigorously writing. He rips out the page and hands it to me. The paper said, I'm sorry I did not remember that. From now on, we don't speak about strategy, we only write it. And then in all caps at the bottom it says, the trees are listening. All caps at the bottom it says, the trees are listening. When I read that, my world caved in. All the comfort that I had felt from Sam taking charge and us finally having a strategy was completely washed away by those 4 words. Because now, not only are we dealing with compromised campers and demonic entities, now the entire forest feels like it's conspiring against us. I have never felt that level of paranoia. I frantically start looking around and everybody's just minding their business. They're just packing up their things. But it feels like I'm being watched from every angle. It feels like at any second, the entire camp is just going to look at me synchronized. And they're all just going to start telling me to turn around and look at something that's so beautiful. At this point, I do not trust anybody other than him. I look back at him and he's finished up writing a couple more sentences in his notebook. He starts saying we have to pack up, grab the ranger, Joe, and Pete, and go on a hike to find Tom in a super calm manner. But then he holds up the paper and his face is very serious. And in all caps, the paper says, Pete and Joe are compromised. I don't trust the ranger. When we enter the woods, we let them lead the way. By no means do we let them walk behind us. So clearly Sam is as paranoid as I. I would love for just me and Sam to go search for Tom, but only the ranger knows where the trapping area is. And we can't risk Joe and Pete hiking back with the entire group of innocent people. So once everybody's finished packing and heading back to the lodge, the ranger approaches us with Pete and Joe. It's clear that he's already briefed them on what we're about to go do. And he just points north and says, Tom should be this way. I try my best to greet Pete and Joe in a friendly manner. But when I tell you, if they so much as say a flower is pretty, I'm swinging. Sam gestures to them to lead the way, and we start to walk behind them into the woods. I cannot believe that I'm back in these woods doing another search. And to be honest, I'm not even looking for him. I'm making sure that I keep
plane on me.
All I can think about is how scared I am of falling back into the trap that the mimic had me in the last time. But the woods feel different. Last time the woods felt like
I just got rocked real hard, buddy.
but this time it just feels different. It got significantly colder.
Good shit. Thank you.
There's zero wildlife.
You definitely just saved my ass right there. Do you want the pump? You just saved my ass.
Oh, I got minis. Hold on.
Alright.
Well, there's another golden pump anyways.
Hell yeah. I got a whole stack of minis, except for that one.
I think of what I want to do. We'll just keep
Dude, this shit's kind of getting to me now.
Oh yeah.
It's like somebody drove past
Like,
my ear whispering.
damn.
I only caught a word or two. I don't speak up immediately because it was such a brief moment. I need a little bit more proof before reporting back to Sam. And then the same thing happened, but directly behind us. I don't see it this time, but the drive-by whisper was exactly the same. So I whip my head towards Sam to get his attention without alerting the others. And Sam's already holding up a piece of paper. And it just says, "We are being hunted." And it just says, "We are being hunted." I mouth to Sam because I don't want the other guys to hear me. I say, "Did you see it?" And Sam just touches his ear and mouths, "No, but I can hear it." And then I make a gesture implying that maybe we should look down. And then Sam points to his nose and mouths, "I don't smell it." So then I direct my attention to the other guys because they don't seem to notice anything. And honestly, that just makes me more suspicious of them. I'm just about ready to
Goddamn
grab
stick
Sam and
drift.
start running back to camp. When the ranger stops everybody and says, "Can you hear that?" Joe and Pete just casually declare that they didn't hear anything. And Sam is just glaring at them and says, "Yeah, I bet you two didn't hear anything." And Joe immediately throws his hands up and replies, "What is that supposed to mean?"
God
Super
damn.
defensive. Just a minute ago, the woods felt
Stick drift
cold
is
and
getting me
lifeless, but
bad.
now this situation is filling up the space
Oh, yeah.
with thick, violent tension. They explode into an argument and start taking verbal shots at one another. But I'm so overwhelmed that I'm just standing there, and I just feel like a
Oh,
third-party spectator.
circle.
I have no idea
We gotta start going.
I can't tell
That's why I
if Pete and
marked.
Joe are as clueless as they're acting and just want to find their friend and go to the lodge, or if they're trying to lead us as deep into the woods as they possibly can. As they continue arguing, it just gets worse because Sam is basically speaking in code because he's withholding information from them because he doesn't want them or the trees to know our game plan or the conclusions that we've come to. But the more that they insist that we keep moving forward, the less me and Sam are willing to. At this point, they're looking at Sam like he's absolutely crazy because if it is true that they don't remember what happened last night with the moose and they actually think that we're just grabbing Tom because there's elk in the area and we're leaving, then our behavior would be coming off as absolutely deranged. I'm just standing there watching this altercation escalate with no idea what decision to make or what words would ease the tension. When out of nowhere, all four of them whip their head in my direction. My heart drops, and for a split second, I'm expecting all of their eyes to glaze over and to tell me to turn around and look at it. But I catch something in my peripheral vision to my right. I turn to look at what it is, and Tom is just standing there, blank faced, as if he was with us this entire time. And Tom is just standing there, blank faced, as if he was with us this entire time. Nobody says anything for a few moments. So I know that everybody else is just taking in what I'm seeing. Tom isn't an overweight guy. He's definitely a bit more of a jolly, heavy-set guy.
I only hit him 86. Hold on.
He's the type of guy that
He
when
pokes.
his
He's
cheeks get really big and flush with color. But I'm looking at him right in front of me, and I can see his cheekbones
Three.
and his orbitals and the striations
Come on.
on his
Peek,
neck. He has
peek, peek.
absolutely no color to his skin, almost as if he has like a gray hue to him. And the natural joy that he usually has in his
Damn
eyes
it.
is gone, and his lips are completely chapped. They almost look like they're pressed against his teeth, as if somebody's pulling his facial skin back. I don't know if I should feel scared or concerned. I have no idea what to say, but Joe speaks up. And
Oh.
You built right in time.
lightly nods yes.
Yep, my shot almost got him too.
Back, and he does the exact same movement. Yes. Everybody seems to be a little bit thrown off by him entering the group that way. And the drastic change.
Oh, he just fell. He just fell.
Yeah, both of them are on the ground.
And when the ranger suggests that we should all hike back, everybody seems spooked enough
Got
to
one.
back to camp. Naturally, me and Sam make
Stick
sure that they
drift
start
getting
walking first and that we're behind. But as we start hiking, I cannot keep my eyes off of Tom because the way that he's moving doesn't match the way that he looks. This man looks significantly worse than Kristen when we found her, and she was barely able to make it back to camp herself. But Tom seemed to be effortlessly maneuvering through the forest with zero fatigue or any signs of dehydration.
Probably the guys that were, they were shooting at before we came and pushed them.
Or hear that croaky whisper zoom by again, but it doesn't return. The only thing that's bothering me is that we're having gusts of wind coming from the direction that we're hiking, and every time a big gust occurs,
I got a big
Oh
one.
shit.
hints of that sulfur smell.
They're, that direction.
Because it's faint
Take
enough
this
that
big
this
bomb.
thing is definitely not in our direct vicinity. So I just want to focus on leaving the area as soon as possible. I can see that even Joe and Pete are taking peeks at Tom with concern, but nobody says anything. Thankfully, we get back to the campsite without anything serious happening, and all we have to do is load up our things on.
He almost just shot me. They're sniping.
Sam are still behind.
So
We're
keep
letting
that in
them
mind.
load up their things first. Pete and Joe throw their backpacks onto the vehicle, and then they go to gather their tents and sleeping bags about 20 yards away. The ranger encourages Tom to load his backpack as well, and when he takes
Damn,
it off,
fucking
I don't know.
stick drift.
why he looks the
It's
way
like
he
the
looks.
worst.
I don't know where exactly the... Yeah, no, I know.
And he is
I don't know exactly where these fuckers are, but I know they're shooting from right in here. This vicinity.
And his adrenaline carried him through that hike. Do you smell that? It smells like
Storm.
this year. Yep. Was clearly attacked by something, and his adrenaline carried him through that hike.
Yeah, now they just shot one at me, dude. Stop.
Where the fuck are they?
So I'm just acting on instinct.
And there's shots coming from the north.
And I just start gently dabbing the wound.
Ah, I see him.
Mark him.
I frantically grab my water out of my bag and I just
Tagged him 86, still had no shield.
I tell him that we're gonna go get help, and I insist that he takes.
They know where I'm at, so don't.
Nobody else is helping him. Nobody has even said anything. So I look up at Sam and the Ranger, and they have fear in their eyes.
I got 2 jump pads if we need to do it and just take off right now. Ready?
No. Let's go around.
Something just seems so off about it. So I pull up his tattered shirt, and it releases that sulfur odor. And at the same time that I smell it, Tom drops the water and croaks out, "I'm so hungry." I backpedal a little bit closer to Sam and the
This
Ranger,
stick
and then
drift
I
is gonna
direct
be
my
the end
attention
of us.
towards Joe and Pete, who seem like they just
This
saw
guy
Tom
in here.
for the first time. My
That's
heart
all
is not
I
ready
hear
to give up on him yet. So I yell at them to grab him, and I say, "Guys, we need to get out of here." And like straight out of a nightmare.
Just know we're gonna have that one team coming at us from behind.
We love it out here. Sam
Yeah, well,
immediately
there's a
grabs
guy
me
in
and
here
takes me to the
somewhere.
vehicle, and the Ranger turns the car.
Let's hide in here for a.
Can't just leave these guys.
No,
And the
never
Ranger
mind.
replies to me with
That's right.
finality in
Oh
there's nothing
shit.
that we can do. They are already gone, and just starts driving. I just find myself stuck staring.
Yeah,
at the
they're
back
shooting at me now.
empty campsite. And just slightly to their
Oh,
right,
they
I
got
see
him.
the second
Brandon, we
one.
need
Once
that
they're out of sight
launch
and
pad.
we're
He's
eager
got
to
a
head
turret.
back to the lodge, I start to
Just throw
look
it on
around
the
at
ground.
woods that surround us. It feels like there's something in the air. The only way I know how to explain it is that it feels like the woods are angry. It truthfully feels like this entire place is conspiring against us. It's a super bumpy and loud drive, so there's no reason for us to even try to talk to each other. But as we start seeing the signs that signal that we're approaching the lodge and that it's within a mile, I could tell that we all start to hear the same loud bangs that are slightly different than the sounds of the bumpy car ride. And the closer that we get, the more it sounds like gongs and drums being hit randomly and sporadically. It's just like the sound the stairs let off when we touched them. It's just like the sound
I'm getting over here.
the closer that we're getting to the lodge,
You know what I mean?
the more rapid the drum sounds are getting. And it is clearly coming
People
from the
over
direction
here.
of the lodge. My mind just starts
I'm
spiraling
trying to-
because it feels like nowhere is safe. If we stop on the trail, it feels like the
Did you
forest is
build
gonna lash out
while we were running?
If we go back to camp, we have
I
to
don't
deal
think
with
so.
whatever Tom was turning.
Because that just got
Heading toward the
finished
lodge
built.
to face the source of that sound.
Oh, there's a turret right here. You, if you want to place that.
There's nowhere to run, and there's nothing that we can do but face what is at the end of this trail. I'm in the back seat, and I'm purposely not looking towards the lodge, but I could tell that we're about to pull up. I hear an audible gasp from the Ranger when he sees what we pulled up to. I'm expecting it to be an absolute massacre. By the way that he sounded and how quickly he got out.
Do you want that turret?
Everything in me wants
I'm
me to
fine,
teleport
right?
out
I'm
of
probably
this
not gonna
and
use
not
it.
see what I'm about to see.
Me
Sam
neither,
gets out of
but-
the vehicle, so now it's my turn. And against every instinct in my body, I look towards the lodge. And at first, I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's everybody from the campsite just hanging out in the parking lot, laughing and talking with kids running around and playing. Like everything is
Damn it.
absolutely okay. I'm scanning the parking lot trying to figure out what the source of the sound is. And then I see it. Right where Nick's father parked his truck, there's a structure that all of the kids are playing on. It's like half a playpen with multiple slides, with staircases leading to the top in every direction. And every step one of the kids took on the stairs, it let out that sound. And these kids were all over it, running up and down playing. This thing presented itself like a playset. It's like it was taunting us. This thing presented itself like a playset. It's like it was taunting us.
Oh, you fucker, you just built me in.
I run towards that staircase and yank each and every kid off of it. I want to plead to the parents to get their kids home and get as far away from here as they possibly can. Honestly, I want to set that thing on fire and go home. But I just stand there waiting for Sam or the Ranger to make the first move. But then the Ranger announces in an extremely calm voice, after clapping 3 times to get everybody's attention, and he just says, "Hey guys, everybody inside. Looks like a storm's coming." I have no idea how he's capable of being this
There's a
calm.
guy peeking us
Does he even
200
see what I'm seeing? Is he hearing the
southwest.
sound that's coming off that playset? Is he putting 2 and 2 together, or am I just going crazy? I look at Sam and I know that he's seeing what I'm seeing, and he came to the exact same
Yeah,
conclusion
down in
that I
there.
did. But we just follow the Ranger's lead.
Yeah.
Everybody voluntarily heads inside at a really leisurely rate, and every second that we're not inside, I'm expecting something.
Ooh, he almost got me and I almost got him.
We only touched
I
the
just
twice,
fucking
and those
shot
kids were running
my
all
building.
over. And if us barely barely touching it released those first two things, what did this just do? Once we all get inside and the parents and children are tucked away in their own quarters, the ranger tells us to come.
Yeah, he's speaking us hardcore.
Because the ranger doesn't look defeated. He looks relieved. So once we're alone upstairs, Sam asks before I get the chance to, "You saw what those kids were playing on, didn't you? Why do you look happy about it?" And the ranger calmly says, "When's the last time you looked at it?" And he stands up and walks towards the window. And he waves us over to come look back towards the parking lot. And for the third time this weekend, the stairs are nowhere to be found. But this time,
they're both right in this general area. Under the tree, under the tree.
Designs. It was just a door, standing upright with nothing around it, leading to nowhere. It was just a door frame, hinges, and a red door. And of course, the last crow is perched on the top. So I reiterate Sam's question. So why do you seem happy about it? And the ranger replies, because this is the first time.
Oh my god, he fucking trapped me. He boxed me. That's so fucked up.
Me and Sam just stayed
Oh, of course he did.
And he says, remember when I told you that there's certain things that us rangers have a good grasp how to handle? Well, that thing that you see out there,
well,
is the only thing that
fuck. I'm gonna use, didn't have enough time to fuck that. I was gonna pop that, that med kit.
I'm taking this real quick.
Alright.
What we know for sure about the doors is as long as somebody walks through them before the sun comes up, nobody else will be harmed. That door out there signifies that this horrible fiasco is over, and you boys have nothing else to worry about. Get to go home. He continues by saying, when you see swings, the only thing that you know is that somebody's gonna go missing, and you have no idea where they're gonna end up or where you should even begin to start looking for them. When you see stairs, the only thing that you know is that something random and horrible is coming, and you have no idea how to protect everybody. But when you see doors, you know with absolute certainty that you have the choice to keep everybody safe. When they make you a ranger, they make you vow to protect the patrons of the park. And I've lost many friends to these woods, but my best friend, the last crow, is perched on the top. So I read, there's two things. What did this just do? Once we all get inside and the parents and children are tucked away in their own quarters, what I'm seeing, is he hearing the sound that's coming off that playset? Is he putting two and two together? Or am I just going crazy? I look at Sam and I know that he's seeing what I'm seeing. And he came to the exact same conclusion that I came to. But we just follow the ranger's lead. Everybody voluntarily heads inside at a really leisurely rate. And every second that we're not inside, I'm expecting something to swoop out of the forest and snag something. Because we only touched that thing twice. And those kids were running all over us. And if us barely touching at least those first two things, what did this just do? Once we all get inside and the parents and children are tucked away in their own quarters, the ranger tells us to go upstairs with him. I'm so confused because the ranger doesn't look defeated. He looks relieved. So once we're alone upstairs, Sam asks before I get the chance to, "You saw what those kids were playing on, didn't you? Why do you look happy about it?" And the ranger calmly says, "When's the last time you looked at it?" And he stands up and walks towards the window. And he waves us over to come look back towards the parking lot. And for the third time this weekend, the stairs are nowhere to be found. But this time, they're replaced by a door. This wasn't an extravagant door with a big arc or intricate designs. It was just a door, standing upright with nothing around it, leading to nowhere. It was just a door frame, hinges, and a red door. And of course, the last crow is perched on the top. So I reiterate Sam's question. So why do you seem happy about that? And the ranger replies, because this is the first time through this whole fiasco where I know what to do. Because this is the first time through this whole fiasco where I know what to do. Me and Sam just stay quiet, waiting for him to elaborate. And he says, remember when I told you that there's certain things that us rangers have a good grasp how to handle? Well, that thing that you see out there is the only thing that all of the other rangers made extremely clear. If a door presents itself, it is my responsibility to go through. And then Sam follows up with the obvious question, what happens when you go through it? And the ranger replies, listen, let me give you some peace of mind before I tell you what happens next. What we know for sure about the doors is as long as somebody walks through them before the sun comes up, nobody else will be harmed. That door out there signifies that this horrible fiasco is over, and you boys have nothing else to worry about. Get to go home. He continues by saying, when you see swings, the only thing that you know is that somebody is going to go missing, and you have no idea where they're going to end up or where you should even begin to start looking for them. When you see stairs, the only thing that you know is that something random and horrible is coming, and you have no idea how to protect everybody. But when you see doors, you know with absolute certainty that you have the choice to keep everybody safe. When they make you a ranger, they make you vow to protect the patrons of the park. And I've lost many friends to these woods, but my best friend, the one that got initiated into the rangers with me, he was the last one of us to go through a door. Sam interjects in a much kinder tone this time. What's on the other side of that door? And the ranger replies, hopefully my best friend, waiting for me with a deck of cards and a whiskey. We stand there in silence for a moment until the ranger says, come on boys, let's end this, and starts walking down the stairs and towards the parking lot. We stop about 10 feet away from the door, and the ranger just shakes both of our hands and gives us nods of acknowledgement. And without any hesitation, he just walks up to the door, opens opens it, steps through, and closes it. When he opened it, there was no ghostly haze or different dimension behind it. I just saw the other end of the parking lot. So when he closed it, I just wanted to go look on the other side of it, because by all rational thought, the Ranger would be right there. But before I got the chance to step, the final crow squawked, and the second it started to fly away, the door collapsed towards where the Ranger would be. But it just landed flat on the ground. The Ranger was gone, and me and Sam are just standing in the parking lot. The sun is rising after the longest weekend of my life, and at that moment I realized that the second that I had touched the stairs, that everything that we did to fight this was futile. From trying to fight the mimic to saving everybody from the antlers, it was already set in stone. Bro, I have really bad news.
No shot, dude.
What?
I'm pretty sure I just finished it.
Yeah, now click on the one that I sent you.
Bruh. I'm going to hit this mofo subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've spoken in the past about the stairs in the woods and what happens when you touch them, but I've never spoken about the random doors that you find in national parks and what happens when you go through them. They're more dangerous than you could possibly imagine.
Okay, so is he going on the rest of the last one?
Yeah, but the story is like supposed to take place like a year later.
But if you want more context on this story, you should probably watch this.
Huh.
But I'll be quick. If you're ready to suspend your disbelief,
Remember, we got Storm.
you found your new favorite
Trust me,
channel.
I ain't worried about that storm.
There's plenty on the channel to binge. So if you're ready, like the video for good luck because you're gonna need it. Also, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. Enjoy the show. A few years ago, I visited a very good friend of mine named Meek. Meek grew up in Seattle, and he had always encouraged me to visit him in his home state so we could spend some time and he could show me around. He always bragged about how beautiful Washington is. And I would always tease him back. I would just say, if you want me to come to Washington, you have to take me to Mount Rainier. I didn't want to summit Mount Rainier. I just wanted to do a fun trail nearby. I knew that that national park was absolutely beautiful. So he took up my challenge, and he agreed to take me to Mount Rainier, and we settled on the Skyline Loop Trail, which is about a 5.4-mile trail that isn't too long, that goes around the base of Mount Rainier. We thought it would be a good idea to...
Alright, I think we should start heading.
And don't worry, I'm going to save you the boredom
Read you
of
loud
hearing
and
about the
clear.
travel and the drive to the hike. We flew in, we drove...
As you're running the opposite way.
Read you loud and clear.
And Mount Rainier is just right in front of you. It's like you're approaching the skyline of a beautiful city. It's right there, you just get to take it in while you're walking towards it. So we had been hiking for a while at that point, so conversation had died down a little bit. You start huffing and puffing, you get a little bit less chat, and we were just enjoying the moment and taking in the beautiful scenery. We were mostly isolated. There were some other people at the park that day, but they weren't really around. There was just this quiet, beautiful hum of nature. But that is until two children ran past us on either side of us, and we didn't hear them approaching. It kind of sounded like they were trying to scare us, trying to get a jump scare out of us. It was as if they started laughing when they were just 2 feet behind us. And after these kids got what they wanted, which was startling us, they kept running about 20 feet ahead of us, and then they started to veer off trail to the left. And obviously we were both a little bit annoyed because we were in this tranquil state, really enjoying our time, and they jump scared us. So we kept an agitated eye on them in a very annoyed fashion. And I see these two children start interacting with and playing with...
There's a chest right there that I want to get real quick.
But as we continued to walk down the trail, I got a better look at whatever it was they were playing with, and I realized that I was seeing the side of it. And from my previous angle, when the children initially approached it, I was only able to see the short side of it. But as I continued walking, it was like I was able to see how wide it actually was. And once we got to parallel with the children, and I was able to see
Grab that big pot.
the object, I realized that these children were playing with a random upright red goat. And for a brief moment, I didn't feel anything while I was looking at it, because part of me didn't even feel like what I was looking at was real. Until Meek playfully said, I wonder if that door's a portal. He was completely joking, and he had no idea that that sentence that he said, absolutely playfully, flooded my brain with horrible memories. Because the last time I saw a door like that, I witnessed a very good man sacrifice himself after the worst weekend of my life. The only difference between this door and the door that I saw in Michigan was that there was no crows perched on top of this door. Just two children playing with something that they couldn't comprehend how dangerous it actually was. So I'm standing there, I could barely form a sentence, and Meek is already walking over to it, still playful. And I had told Meek about what happened in Michigan to me and Sam, and I didn't understand why he wasn't putting two and two together. And the children were messing with the doorknob, and was, can you stop walking near that thing? I'm terrified and I think we should run. And when I finally got him to turn around and he saw my face, I knew that he knew what I was referring to, but he was genuinely curious to see if this thing was capable. I told him it was capable, or it was just an inanimate object and we could laugh about my temper tantrum. And at this point, the children had this door wide open and had been walking through to the other side. And Meek looked at me and playfully said, look, nothing happened to the kids when they went through. But while Meek was looking back at me, one of the children that had walked through the door had turned around. And I realized in that second that this was the first time that I had seen one of the children's faces. And where this child's eyes should have been, they were just deep black voids. And the darkness started from the ridge of his orbital bones. But the issue was that Meek was already through the door frame before he turned around to see what this child's face looked like. So I had no choice but to reach through the doorway in an attempt to pull Meek back through. But he had stepped so far through it that I had to walk completely through this doorway to reach him. So once I got a hold of his arm, I attempted to try to backpedal, but he was resisting because he was frozen, staring at this child's face. And mind you, nothing happened when we went through this doorway, and the door was still wide open and standing. But as I was trying to wrestle Meek back through the frame, the other child, who I hadn't even seen his face yet, looped around us and kicked the door, slamming it closed. And at the moment the door hit the frame, our surroundings changed.
I jumped off.
Yep. My head. My.
God damn, how many people were here?
We got another one, Landon. Oh, another guy over here. Got him.
Send this first kid's head through the uprights. Meek just puts his hand on my chest and says, calm down in calm confidence. And he starts praying in Arabic. I don't speak Arabic, but I'm familiar with the common prayers. And I could tell that this wasn't one of them. This wasn't a routine prayer during the day. I've heard Meek pray hundreds of times, and he wasn't praying like he usually does. He was doing it in an almost confrontational fashion towards these children. And after about the 5th or 6th line,
Do you have many?
Yeah, I just picked 2 up.
I could see that they started becoming fearful and started backpedaling away until they ultimately turned around and fled. I was so relieved in that moment that they ran away, but I was so confused with what
should I drop these 15 bandages for the med kit?
Yeah.
Or keep the... Alright. But you can heal more times. It's honestly a hard debate.
2 guys up here.
Mark.
I just see their footsteps.
Yeah, right here.
That I told you, but then I followed up that question with, what were you even saying to them to make them leave? Meek was still in a cheery mood, but I feel like that was the
Thank you.
first time that he realized that I was
Oh, shit.
Come on, I'm trying to fucking build. They fucking wrecked me.
Yeah.
Fuck.
God damn it.
Of course I'm scared, but he replied, I told you you shouldn't have been scared of them in the first place.
So pissed that we lost that song Lost.
Mm-hmm.
The entire story, but I also recalled that he chalked it all up to Jin. Part of me found it very comforting because a part of that conversation was him relaying to me that if you trust in God, none of these things, none of these Jin can hurt you, and they can't influence you in any way. All you have to do is let them know that you're God-fearing and that you're not scared of them, and that will make them scared of you. Really quick, if you don't know what a Jin is, it's basically a demon in the Muslim culture. They chalk everything up to Jin, and that conversation with them helped me a little bit. It helped me get over that whole situation that went down in Michigan. It comforted me a little bit, but it didn't make me so unfearful that I was willing to walk back into a situation just like it or play with these kinds of things. I think Meek was under the impression that the new knowledge that he bestowed upon me about Jin and how to deal with them made me as fearless as him. He was completely wrong. Deep down, I was still scared of him. And now we were so I started looking around in absolute panic, trying to gauge where this thing dropped us off. Initially, I assumed that it might have just teleported us to a a different part of Mount Rainier National Park. But as I was scanning the horizon, I started to realize that this was not only not a national park, it might have not even been our dimension. And I don't say that because everything looked so different. I say that because everything around me looked so
I
similar.
hate these fucking headphones. They just fall right off my fucking head.
I hear you.
There was this
Boy, we landed.
how far you walked, no matter how long you
Give me
looked
a
for it,
second
there
to
wasn't
think.
a road, there wasn't a town. This thing felt endless. It just seemed infinite. But the weirdest thing about it was that as far as your eye could see, there were just random red dots. There were doors in the distance. Thousands of them, but dozens for sure. And they were all dropped in random areas, standing in random fields, pressed into cliff walls, standing along a tree line, placed on top of a hill, and they all looked exactly the same. A red door with a black doorknob. If I were to give you an estimate of how far each door was from each other, I would say that each door was a 10 to 15 minute walk from the nearest door. I was trying to figure out what words to say, and the only thing that I could come up with was, how is this not scary? Like, me, look around. We're clearly not in Mount Rainier anymore. And at this point, he could tell that I was very, very upset, and he became apologetic, but he was still standing his ground, and he was positive.
Damn, the stick drift is killing me.
We're safe. And my argument was, how
I feel like it's the worst in this
the
game.
children that we just saw.
Yeah.
He said something that was actually very profound. He said there's no difference between where we are now and where we were before. This is all God's creation. Therefore, it's all beautiful. And just like anywhere else, just like where we were before, anywhere can be unsafe. But just because things are unsafe doesn't mean you can fear them. You can respect dangerous things, but still appreciate the beauty inside of it, thus appreciating the beauty of God. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Meek for a second so you understand the context before I tell you exactly what happened next. I feel like you need to understand who he is so his actions will make sense. Meek's a very religious man, clearly.
I'll come grab it in a minute. I'm starting to break down this.
Shameful and like you're a sin. He lives how the religion preaches, and he doesn't let cultural
Alright.
factors warp the way that he looks at his religion. He leads a lifestyle of kindness and integrity at the forefront, and he finds deep comfort and gratitude in his beliefs, and that leads to confidence and calmness.
Oh, two planes coming towards us.
6'2", 225-pound professional mixed martial artist, and he's probably one of the best wrestlers.
Yep, they just came down like they. Yep,
He's not scared of many things.
on me.
He's not scared of crater-eyed children. And with how that interaction went down, it kind of proved to me that he shouldn't be. Now that you have a better picture of who he is, I'm sure you can understand why he's present.
Behind you.
Even in a situation like this was comforting and allowed me to calm down.
Turn the lobby.
My first rational thought was a question. I just said, Meek, can we focus on finding our way back? And with a little
Oh, how long have we been streaming this fucking game for? 2 hours and 1 minute.
I have multiple incantations to ward off jinn, and I promise they can't.
Jeez, and we've been playing this game for 2 hours and 1 minute, buddy.
So who was I to question? So I just turned my attention to the plethora of doors to choose from, and I pointed towards the nearest one, and I suggested that we walk towards it, maybe take a peek through it. To be fair, I didn't see the ranger come back through the door that he went through, and I never went back to that camp, and I never made an effort to find out about his whereabouts after that weekend. That experience messed me up for a while, and I wanted to leave it in my past, and I came to terms with the fact that the ranger sacrificed himself, and at this point I was okay with it. I got over the guilt, but I didn't see the guy die. There's no way he made it out. And now that I was through one of these doors and I could see where he likely landed, I could see that there were options. Even though I hadn't looked through one of these doors, I was doomed. And in that moment, I was kind of optimistic that we could find a way out. This place almost looked like an optical illusion, but with all of these doors, I didn't feel like the situation was completely hopeless. So Meek and I started walking towards the nearest door. Part of me felt like the door was going to keep fading further and further into the distance, and we were never going to reach another door. But luckily, we were gaining ground on this bigger and bigger as we continued to approach it. We were still about 5 minutes away from
I don't know who to play as.
I started to see a little bit of movement walking towards us through the dense foliage to
I
our
always
left.
try to stick with girls because they're the smaller hitbox.
In the direction of the movement.
Oh, I know.
Better get that incantation ready because another one's coming.
Oh, I know.
From the tree line, it looked much less menacing
Fuck
than
it.
the black-eyed children. At least his facial expression was much less menacing. And his body let off this calm demeanor. It was a man in a suit delicately walking towards us. But nothing about his stature, his facial expressions, his movements. But that didn't mean I wasn't initially scared of him, or at least skeptical. Because those cratered-eyed kids just looked like kids from the back. And this man
Oh, I'm going with the weirdest fucking loadout right now.
I still wanted Meek to have that incantation ready, but something about the way that this guy was approaching us really brought my guard down. He was giving us like gentle waves, almost waving us down in a customer service Mind you, he was still about 20 feet away, but I clearly heard him say, "You guys look like you need some help. You're not from around here, are you?" And by his mannerisms and the tone of the voice that I heard, it made me want to trust him a little bit more. But I felt desperate. But he seemed like he was trying to do his absolute best to convey to us that he meant absolutely no harm. The only issue is that when he started speaking for the second time, I noticed that he wasn't speaking, and I was just hearing a voice in my head. I didn't notice the first time because his mannerisms matched the inflection and the pacing of the sentences that I was hearing. And the second thing that I heard him say was a question. He just asked us, "Where did you guys come from, and where would you like to end up?" And at this point, Meek also noticed that he was speaking to us telepathically. And Meek took that as a cue, which I was happy about, to start his incantations. But right before Meek started, the man managed to get one more sentence in, and he simply said, "Hey Meek, feel free to finish your prayer, but I can assure you that I'm not a djinn." So Meek started his prayer, and this man turned his attention towards
So
me, and I
pissed
heard him
about
say,
Snapchat.
"They're not,
What?
They're deleting your memories.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's fucked.
I'm pissed about it. I'm thinking I'm gonna delete it.
That kind of pisses me off too, not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, I've had that Snapchat from 2017, and it's like, it's about, you know, the memories.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they can even do that is...
Dude, we had so, like, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2019 when I got fucking, finally remembered my fucking logins. And, fucking, whatchamacallit, whatchamacallit. The first one I got was me and you at, what's her face's house, Karen's house, fucking, listening to some juice. Is that you?
Yeah, with the boom boxes.
Okay.
I'm also gonna be throwing grenades and frickin'
Them
dynamite to
breaking.
speed up the process.
Yeah.
Throwing grenades in your vicinity.
Alright. I love how that's literally what we've been doing. Every game is whatever place we land at, we start breaking down the houses.
That's how that's how you know we conquered it.
Yep. Even though we haven't killed nobody, but
I just want like a random player to just come across this and just be like, what the fuck? Somebody destroyed this
yeah,
whole place? I just want to be like, you're damn right. Damn right I did it. I used to do it on the OG one. Like like actual Dusty Depot, not Dusty Divot. It's a lot easier now that half of it's blown away. Plus there's good source materials.
oh yeah.
We turned the knob, we pushed the door forward, and we took a peek. But this time was different than the last time. We were able to see through the door this time. It wasn't like when we came in here how our surroundings changed after we closed it. We could see the difference in the terrain between where we were and what was on the other side of the door. And it looked kind of like where we came
All I
Dude,
have
that
is
bush
shotgun
scared
and
the shit
SMG.
out of me.
I looked over the was still just calmly standing there.
Some guy shooting at me.
Yep, I see him.
And now there's one behind me. Stick drift is killer. There's another guy, so there's two other motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, I know. Right here, but I'm getting shot from somewhere else. Oh, good shit, man. Oh shit. Someone else.
Said sure, I'd like to ask you more questions about this place. I'd love to continue to pick your mind. You're great. The man seemed very happy that he'd won over me, and he just understands that we should step through the door first. So we did. So we walked through. We took about 10 steps to make space for everybody to walk out of the door. I took a little look around, but I made sure I looked back once I heard the door hit the frame. We seemed to be in the right place, but I still wasn't fully convinced that this guy was harmless. So I turned my attention back towards him to see if he was going to change his demeanor, but he looked as joyous and happy as ever. And Meek continued the conversation that they were having on the walk, and he just said, how can we find more doors like this? How do you spot them? Or how do we get them to present themselves? But this was the first time that this man didn't answer immediately. He just stood there smiling, and I knew in that exact moment that we royally messed up, because something about him was different now. He was very friendly and happy this entire time, but now he looked elated. He looked like a young dog with his body filled with pent-up energy and just ready for you to throw the ball, ready to play fetch. He was almost vibrating with excitement. His legs were visibly shaking, and he was wiggling at his hips and his torso. And I noticed that he was smiling harder and harder. And as I'm looking at him, he takes two large shuffles to his left, and they were very particular steps. They were very calculated steps. So naturally, I mirror his steps because I didn't want him to have an angle on me. I didn't realize why he was stepping. I didn't really care. I just wanted to make sure he stayed in front of me. But most of my attention was on his smile. And second by second, he was getting bigger and bigger. It started off as a grin, but then his teeth were showing. And then his dimples were indented.
Where are you
eyes
thinking?
started squinting. And then he started getting creases on his forehead. And then his cheeks became bulbous.
Huh?
His smile just
Give me a
kept getting
second.
bigger. And it was as if his eyes were adjusting their size to make more room for his enormous smile. His eyes got smaller and further apart, and his smile reached up to his orbital bones. I couldn't take my eyes off of him, but I heard Meek starting to pray again, because it was clear that whatever was happening to his face was unnatural. His face was contorted in a way that no human's face could be contorted. And at this point, he started hopping in place like his feet were pogo sticks. He wasn't jumping super high. It was just as if he couldn't contain his energy, and he was releasing his energy by hopping in place. And again, he was still having no reaction to Meek's incantation, and I just stood there ready to run, ready for this thing to charge me. But I had to wait for Meek to finish because he was extremely focused. And then once Meek finished and this man was still hopping there, happy as ever, Meek decided to question him. So he confronted the man and he asked him straight to his face, demanding an answer. If you aren't a djinn, what are you? And the man simply replied, free, before he started to hop backwards as if he was building momentum for something. And it turns out that he was building momentum to start backflipping. After about 4 hops, he started backflipping away from
Oh shit.
it was as if he was an Olympic level gymnast with unlimited stamina. And I realized that was
My reaction was on point. My reaction was just on point. Oh shit.
until he completely disappeared into the woods. And Meek and I had to take a moment to stand there in disbelief of what we just saw. This backflip for over 100 yards straight. And from my knowledge, I don't think that's what it was. He didn't slow down or look like he was arm didn't break down, he just backflipped until he was gone. And it was so odd because when he approached us, he looked kind of feeble. He didn't have great posture. He didn't have much muscle mass, and he didn't look particularly athletic. But once we got through that door, once we were out here, it was as if his body sprang to life. In just a few moments, he became incredibly limber and dynamically athletic. Part of me wanted to talk about what just happened, but the main issue here was that we were in the middle of nowhere. I scanned around and there was no trail anywhere, so survival immediately goes to the top priority. I did a 360 to take in all our surroundings, but once I got all the way around, the door that we got here completely disappeared. So now I had to deal with the realization that there's no way back to wherever we just were, because what if this wasn't the right place? It was the only thing I was kind of optimistic about, because the terrain looked very similar and the weather was very similar. The only thing that was different was that there weren't many flowers like there were when we entered the first store, but we could easily just be in a different portion of Mount Rainier National Park. The weather was similar, the grass was a similar shade of green, the mountains had similar peaks. The Smiling Man might have actually taken us through the right door, but we couldn't be sure until we got back to actual civilization. So Meek and I agreed to just start hiking in the direction that was downhill, because it was easier to start hiking. We didn't want to immediately jump to conclusions that we were in the middle of nowhere in an incredibly dangerous situation, because we didn't want to start panicking. It wouldn't benefit us in any way, but I would be lying to you if I told you that if we hiked
You landed on top or bottom?
we didn't see a structure or a sign.
Alright, I'll go to the bottom.
The reality is that there's no telling where that door left us. And I could tell Meek was having internal struggles with the fact that his incantation didn't work on that man twice. Because
Oh my god.
You fell off?
I jumped off, but there is a guy like right next to me. Behind you, but he don't have a gun yet.
I don't either.
I didn't think you should start questioning his religion. I've been around things like this before, and I've encountered this.
Got a pistol.
I interacted with the
What?
I was in the vicinity of something that would be commonly described as a Wendigo, even though I never saw it. The ranger from Michigan told me that he thought that they were all demons, but when I researched the Wendigo,
Walk over here to a little bit.
the results were that it was probably just a human that was
I definitely do get bored on this fucking...
And if I'm being honest with you, the mimic felt like some type of parasite to me. It didn't feel like a human or like
I can definitely tell you got bored. The only reason I'm not bored is because of this fucking thing I've been listening to.
Damn it. I hit him once. He's got a suppressed pistol. He's down the stairs. Down. You gotta pay a secret subscription fee to play online
Got him.
other games, or else we would be playing another game. We were playing Rocket League earlier, which is different.
My thing ain't working now. I got a med kit. I'm gonna drop you.
Once we got to the hour and a half mark, we saw a little herd of sheep. And as we got closer to this little herd of sheep, I could see that the sheep had tags. And if those sheep have tags, that means they have a shepherd. And if there's a shepherd, there's either some type of
well, there you go.
town. And we both got to breathe a sigh of relief because we knew we weren't that far away from civilization. Then after another 15 minutes of walking, we saw in the distance what seemed to be a small mountain town. There had to have been about 2,000 people living there tops. Most of the buildings that were in the area had been built with some type of brick, and they actually looked kind of to me, similar to what you would see in Game of Thrones. But I just figured this town probably just has really old architecture. So we approached the town and we go looking for somebody, anybody that can tell us where we were. And I was just hoping that we weren't so far away from Mount Rainier that it would be more than a day's trip back to where we were before. And we see a man working outside of what I could only imagine was a house. It was a modest house, but it was very well kept. And the man looked like he was just doing a good day's work. So we approached him as friendly as we possibly could. But when he looked up at us, I could tell he was a bit concerned, because we were clearly strangers to him, and we were dressed very differently than him. Not to mention, he was a bit older and smaller in stature, and Meek and I definitely were looking scared and weathered, plus we're pretty large. We both tried to be very respectful and kind in our greeting and just try to introduce ourselves to him. And our only intentions were to find out where we were and maybe get some type of guidance or help. But when we started talking, he was looking at us very confused, and I realized after about 2 sentences that this guy clearly didn't speak English, and he was confused and surprised that we were trying to speak English to him. Meek recognized that as well, so he immediately started speaking Spanish. The man didn't look particularly Hispanic, but he was tan and he had dark features, and he didn't seem African American or Indian. So I felt like Spanish was probably his best bet to try to communicate with this man. But Spanish didn't seem to work either. He seemed just as confused, so Meek pivoted to Turkish. I don't think I mentioned this, but Meek studies language, and he speaks about 5 fluently. And he speaks 7 kinda good, and then he could also recognize just about any language by the roots of the words, and he kind of knows the origin of where the person is probably from.
Need a mini?
Turkish, but the man still still nothing. He threw Arabic at him, it fell flat, and then in a last-ditch effort, he threw some greetings that he would use during his time in Thailand to see if the guy had an Asian background. But nothing seemed to stick, so we kind of signaled to the guy, hey, you talk so we could see what you're speaking. But I had never heard a language like that. Whatever he was speaking had such an odd cadence, and I'd never heard anything like it. But I don't study language. I probably shouldn't know. So I turned my attention to Meek, and I'm like, what do you think this guy's speaking? But Meek looked at me, and I heard something that I thought that I would never hear him say. Because I was under the impression that this dude knew everything about language. And Meek said, bro, I've never heard anything like that. I can't even catch a word. I have no idea what he's speaking or any type of dialect that can be connected to what he's speaking.
Purple shotgun if you want it.
Conclusion possible. That door must have left us in a different dimension because I didn't think we could
Shotgun
find
do you
ourselves in
have?
any place in this world where
Huh?
we wouldn't at least
What
know
shotgun
what the
do you
language
have?
was. And he was
Gold.
completely clueless to what this man was saying and what
Really, that and a pistol are my only two weapons right now.
realization either. So I took over the one-sided conversation and I just did a hand gesture pretending to put food into my mouth while I was holding up dollar bills. And I even threw in some chewing gestures to really punch what I was trying to say home. I was just trying to say, we're trying to buy food. Because I thought the best thing that we could do in this situation was find some kind of restaurant or pub or bakery, just any type of gathering place. So hopefully we can find somebody that speaks English or any of the other various languages that Meek speaks. The man clearly understood what I was trying to get across to him. So he just waved to us for us to follow him. We stayed quiet during that time where we were following this guy to wherever they sell food, and my mind was just juggling so many things. The possibility of a dimension switch, and also the possibility that the smiling man was capable of something horrible when we let him out. But I wasn't ready to verbalize that to Meek in that moment. So we followed this man for about 5 minutes, and we do our best to seem nice and just wave at passerbyers, because everybody in the area seems to be looking at us in a skeptical manner. So we just want to show, like, hey, we mean no harm. I know we stick out like a sore thumb, but we're just trying to be nice. And eventually we get to a building that looked to me like an old pub or tavern, or where you would order a meat pie and take a...
You got me feeling like I'm not gonna be able to walk into work tomorrow after hearing all this shit about doors.
Once we stepped into this restaurant
Only the
type thing,
random
the man
doors
that brought
that
us
show
there
up
dismissed
in the
himself
middle of
amongst us.
nowhere.
Huh?
Turned our attention
Only
to
the
find
random
whoever
doors that show up in the middle of
person
nowhere.
interact with. So we seated ourselves at a
Yeah.
small table near what seemed to be the bar
Dude.
serving counter. And this place was completely
I tell you,
people all speaking that
my worst
we couldn't
experience that I could say
at our table.
out in the wilderness was me and Connor. We were all the way up on the mountain that we were staying up because I was in Danby, you know. And he's driving the wheeler. Matt's also with us on the other wheeler. And it just barely, the sun just went down, so now we have to turn on the lights. And we're like, fuck it, we're gonna go down it without the lights, right? Some stupid shit fucking those boys do. And fucking as we're coming down, like soon as we turned off the fucking lights, I had like this eerie feeling. Like really eerie. Like I never felt like that before ever. Like not even a paranoid eerie, you know what I mean? Like real eerie.
Yeah.
And I swear on everything, dude, I don't know what I saw, but I turned around and I like saw something kind of like obvious that wasn't supposed to be there. I couldn't make it out. It wasn't no tree trunk or nothing like, or like trees, nothing like that, you know. And that shit had me kind of really creeped the fuck out.
Did you ever
We're
say
away.
anything?
No. I just, you know, you know how it is around those fuckers. So I kind of was like, yeah, no. I did say to Connor a little bit, I'm like, I do feel like we're being watched right now. Until we got into, like, this one spot down, like, maybe 500 yards from the house. I'm running because of the storm, and we got a while to go. And once we got down there, it was brighter, you know what I mean? And I just felt better once we got there. And then, ever since that day, like, I would go out to that trailer that I broke my hand on to smoke when I was smoking. And, dude, I would always feel something watching me out in the woods. Because right next to the fucking, fucking trailer was really tall grass that hasn't been freaking dealt with, once. And it would always feel like it's right there. There was something, you know what I mean? Like, those are the only eerie things I got, and then George over here saying that he captured Bigfoot on fucking camera.
On camera.
'Cause he has hunting cameras out there. But the one thing that really had me is when he was saying that, it didn't have me like, oh, I was scared, but it had me like, this motherfucker must think I'm stupid. Because when he showed me the picture and I looked at his hair, it looked identical. All he had to do was put his hair down and not have it up in his fucking ponytail, dude. And
He might have just been stupid and thought he fucking caught it on camera.
and it literally looked like he moved it, you know what I mean? Oh, storm. Plane? Let's get out of here with this plane. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, wrong one. Oh.
Just get in that plane.
I don't know how to fly this damn thing.
Well, you better fucking figure it out.
How do you even start the engine, homeboy? But no, for real, dude. And his hair looks so identical. Oh, people over here. I'm about to go down. They're on me. The other guy's on me, Charlie. Don't let me die, dude. Get out of that fucking plane. Sorry, I didn't mean to be aggressive, but that's... Where did I just get shot from?
There's a guy in a plane.
Oh my god. I had great loot, all gold, not all gold, but pretty much freaking gold, 3 fucking med kits. Ah. Return to lobby.
She couldn't tell what we were saying, so I just started signaling to her, just kind of pointing at her to make it.
Damn it.
She understood what I was trying to say, and she gave us a gesture signaling that she was just going to bring us food, and that she was going to feed us properly. She seemed very sweet, and I trusted that she was going to bring us something tasty. And after she left, I knew that we were going to have a couple minutes to talk. So me and Meek started a very serious discussion. So we started to talk about what just happened and what we just let loose. Clearly, nobody around us spoke English, so it didn't matter how loud we spoke. Nobody was going to understand us and think we were crazy. So I just started learning out descriptive details about the horrible thing that we just went through and how bizarre it was, and basically venting to my friend how scared I was. And after I finished venting to Meek, he did give me a sincere apology, which I felt like I deserved. But then he
You turned to lobby.
saying that whatever the smiling man was didn't seem evil or aggressive, and it didn't react to my incantation, so I'm not really worried about it. I'm just worried about getting you home. He might have not been worried about it, but I was. I've seen what these things can do. And just as I was about to express those concerns with him,
Did you go to lobby?
back to the table.
Yeah, I'm loading in now.
Oh, okay.
In front of us, and at that point, I was convinced
I
that
don't
we
know
were
how
in a
much
different
more I can
dimension.
play
One of the
this
plates just looked like your
game. I'm
everyday
getting bored
charcuterie.
of this shit.
Sliced sausages with cold cuts,
What?
some cheeses, some
I
jams.
don't know
but
how
the
much
other one was a
more
cast
of
iron
this I
pan
can
filled
play.
with
I'm getting
cement
bored of
soaked
this
in
shit.
water. It smelled fantastic.
Oh, I hear you there, brother.
Washington are people serving escargot.
Fuck
Neither of us are
it.
picky eaters, and I've had escargot
What time
before,
is
so
it?
we just started eating it.
Damn, it's already about 1.
The charcuterie was great too, but we weren't there to talk about cuisine. We didn't know where
Do you want to try Rocket again, or do you think when you're done with this, you're gonna be done?
we finished up our food, and when it was time to pay, I handed the woman 2 $20 bills because I figured that it would cover whatever it
I
was
don't
she
even
would
think I want to play another game for it.
or she would keep it. She would get a
I hear you.
She was looking at my money as an
You give me